Greetings. My name is Louis Molina, and I'm the host of the Life Puro podcast. Today, I'm joined by the Sasquatch boys, known as Josh and Peyton, and I'm glad they're here. So with that, guys, welcome.
Hey,
Yeah.
glad to be here.
We said that for the Patty G show one time, I think, and maybe that's going to be one of those things that sticks. I don't know.
The Sasquatch?
We'll see. Yeah.
Sasquatch boys. Anytime we come around, everybody goes, that's the Sasquatch boys. Because what we do is just a funny concept of a business. So
Yeah.
just adds a little humor to it.
So I'll definitely I'll ask you more about that and what that means for some of our guests. Before we do, what we like to offer our guests are some cigars.
Yes.
Pick whichever one you want. If you need a little primer, because I know you guys love cigars, but are just still kind of getting
We
you into it.
appreciate the art of it, but we still don't know. We're new to it.
Okay.
But we can appreciate it.
Yeah. I'm always happy to educate people, whether they're beginners, intermediates, or experts, and don't feel like, any slighted or any way that you don't know enough. I mean, I tell people that even though I've been in the industry for over 20 years, I'm still learning, and I still consider myself an novice. Yeah. There's always something to learn. Yeah.
What do you think makes it like when somebody knows? What's the telltale of somebody who feels like they have a really good understanding of what a cigar is? And
Well, I mean, I guess it depends. Are you talking about like for the manufacturing side? Are you just talking about like simple, like
let's
consumer
say
basics?
Consumer basics.
Yeah.
Like you would consider yourself a professional in consumer basics.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Well, so I think one misconception about cigars is that you have to spend big bucks to get a great cigar. And that's not really true. I mean, there's some great everyday smokes under $7, $8 that are fantastic, and some that I would choose over some $20 sticks.
Really?
Yeah. So and it's really just a personal choice. So don't let any of the marketing, influence your perception of any cigar.
Right.
Just cut light and judge.
So I was telling you earlier about my father-in-law, how he's big into bourbon. So his favorite thing to say is when people ask him, like, what is the best bourbon? He always answers, whatever bourbon you like the most.
That's right.
Is the best bourbon.
Yep. We have a similar saying in the cigar world. I mean, the cigar that's best to you is whatever you choose, and
that's the best one.
That's it. Yeah.
Really?
Like you said, some of his bourbons, some of his favorite bourbons are like $40.
Yeah.
You don't have to buy the $400, bottle of bourbon.
Exactly. But that being said, there are some cigars that, maybe cost.
Are worth it.
Yeah. Like 20, 30, 50. And it's like, oh man, I hate when they're actually good, because it's like the manufacturer knew what they were using and blending, and it's like it was really commensurate with that price. But I hate that it's so expensive,
So what do you mean when you're blending? Like what does that mean? So like I guess when I'm in my basic information about cigars is that it's tobacco leaf, right?
Yeah.
So then is it a blend of different types of tobacco leaf?
Yeah. That's a great question. So view it, if you know the bourbon world or the whiskey world or wine world, the cigar industry uses pretty much similar terminology and nomenclature and even the description of processes, because really it is a blend. I love this anecdote, and I probably said it on the podcast before. There was a manufacturer, a well-known cigar maker, who went to visit a well-known winemaker. And both of these owners of their respective companies were just in admiration of one another. And, it was Carlito Fuente is what I've heard. He, and I forget who the winemaker was, but Carlito Fuente, the owner of Arturo Fuente Cigars, which is a very well-known company. Yeah. He was telling the winemaker, I admire your industry and what you have to do. And the winemaker said the same thing of Carlito's, like, man, I love what cigar makers have to go through. I mean, their work is really hard. And, Carlito's like, yeah, but I think wine's a little bit more challenging. And the winemaker said something that really I'd never heard of, but it's really profound, in that the difference really between blending wines and cigars is one is blending liquids and one is blending solids. And so it's a little easier to kind of blend liquids because it's just such a much more homogeneous process, right? Whereas cigars, you're trying to blend these solids
literally in layers. Almost.
Yeah, and it's really hard to recreate a consistent profile and experience.
Right. I would imagine so.
Yeah, so think about that.
Which
even if
is all about consistency, really.
And so like in the factory, a lot of like the step right before these rollers actually make and construct the cigar, they're usually given like the recipe by someone else who knows what filler leaves to give to each roller or rolling team, what binder leaf, what wrapper leaf. But I mean, who's to say that? What if that person didn't blend it exactly correct? You might have little variations from the cigar from cigar to cigar.
Okay.
Even in the same like SKU, like this one. But then today we're featuring the Espinosa Crema, which I felt was a good one for you guys to start off with.
Okay.
Heck yeah.
That's what I was gonna ask. Like, why this one for us? Like, what was the?
So it's
push?
a lot of people will say, oh, beginners should start with shade grown. Yes and no. I mean, not always true. A lot of people, that's another misconception, is that they judge the strength of a cigar on the color of the wrapper or what you see on the
So
outside.
thinking
exactly
like this
what I
one would
did
be
today.
darker.
Yeah. A lot of people think
Yeah.
the darker it is, the stronger it is, and that's not true. The Ashton aged Maduro is a perfect example of that. Really dark wrapper, but it's mild. It's a very mild cigar. So, but a lot of manufacturers kind of feed that misconception by blending, like putting strong filler, that's the guts of the cigar, to match like the color of that wrapper. So there's nothing to say that I couldn't blend, like put a bunch of Ligero in this filler on a light wrapper, and you would think it's mild, but that would be a really strong cigar. And conversely, like if you put like really mild filler under a dark wrapper, I mean, it's going to be a mild cigar, given all else equal,
So is the leaf is a tobacco leaf, and inside is a different type of leaf?
It can be. Yeah, it's not all the same sometimes. So
Interesting.
let's go
Exposing
back.
yourself.
You're learning.
Nothing. I'm learning.
Yeah.
This is crazy. Okay.
Well, let's go back to just like
Sorry, go ahead.
the beginning. So what is a cigar? A cigar is basically a product that's composed of 100% tobacco, right? Unlike a cigarette, which has a paper wrapper
Yep.
or like a rice paper.
Filters, all that stuff.
Yeah, this is 100% tobacco. And the modern day cigar is composed of 3 parts. You have the filler, which is like the guts of the cigar. That's what you see in the center right here.
Okay.
Right? That's in the interior.
Yeah.
You have the wrapper component, which is on the outside. That's what you see. And then there's a third part called the binder leaf. The binder, think of the binder as the wrapper underneath the wrapper.
Ooh.
You can't see it,
Yeah.
but the binder leaf is what holds the filler together. So you'll see
Got it.
videos, if you haven't Googled them, when a roller begins, they take these filler leaves and they wrap it with this binder leaf. And then they place it in this like little slot. And there are several of these slots, and it's called a mold. The mold actually kind of looks like this foam on the wall.
I've seen
It's
a
like-
little bit
yeah.
in New Orleans. They do all the,
Yeah,
off
they have
of,
a cigar factory.
Yeah, and they'll kind of show. And I've stopped and just kind of watched,
Yeah.
not
So
knowing
then-
what I was looking at, but
Yeah. No, that's a great place to look. If you're local or in New Orleans, go to the cigar factory in the French Quarter. You can see them crafting cigars right in front of you.
We did that during was it that Christmas break during was it right after COVID? Remember we
we went
all
out
rented
there.
and we were right there by that cigar. I think we actually stopped in there and
Yep.
grabbed a cigar.
We did.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I had no idea. I just
Yeah.
So why is it that this is probably just a dumb question, but why is it that you can't inhale a cigar but you can inhale a cigarette? What is it that makes the cigar so?
So cigarettes are engineered to be a little bit more palatable for people to inhale. Also, there's less volume of tobacco.
Yeah.
This is almost like too pure.
Yeah.
It's not made to inhale. It's merely
It's
meant.
absorbed through your gums and stuff, right?
Yeah, like
Or
the
is that-
oral, the orifices, and so basically the point, and that's a good question. Like, what's the point of smoking a cigar? Really, it's like, I guess, the purest wine drinker, or when you eat fine foods. It's all about sensory experiences.
Yeah.
And how does your taste buds, your sense of smell, all these tastes, and all the chemical reactions and like electricity, how you perceive flavor, right? So
Yeah.
think about like biting into a cherry.
Yeah.
You might not describe in words what that cherry tastes like, but you can visualize and like, oh, this has a cherry taste. Same with cigars. It's about burning this leaf and this blend, right, of filler, binder, and wrapper,
Yeah.
all burning together, and you pull that smoke, and you're basically tasting the smoke, and it delivers its own unique flavor signature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you're not inhaling. Oh yeah, don't worry about the train. Yeah,
Okay.
get the train. Yeah.
Train's part of the podcast. This is that section.
Actually, yeah, I think
Brought to you by
Now to bring you
Yeah,
a new, you mind if I do a new segment by her?
exactly. Oh,
by the
yeah,
choo-choo train.
you get prizes, or we have like confetti coming down. Oh, you got the train.
That would be very
Yeah.
funny.
We've actually talked about like doing something to
That
incorporate
would
that train.
be very funny.
Yeah.
That train, by the way,
was
it's by
loud.
my house as well.
Oh, is it?
And my daughter, when she wakes up, she goes, "Oh my gosh, what is that?" She's 3, so I go, "It's a train, baby." She goes, "Can you tell it to be quiet?"
Right. I know.
Really, I can't.
You know, I got to tell you, like, we used to have a customer. He worked for, oh man, I don't know if it was the UP, the Union Pacific, or Kansas City Southern. He was like an executive, and he used to shop with us years ago. But then he moved somewhere else, and he told me something very, like, interesting about like the railroad history, in that, you know, obviously the railroad helped build this country west of the
Expanded,
Mississippi,
right.
right? And this is an industry that really kind of laid the first infrastructure in like the unsettled frontier, like, you know, from the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
And they've been there forever, right? But these towns develop, you know, around like these stops.
Right.
And now you have like over time, over decades and centuries now, this interesting relationship where like the train can interfere with like the local traffic.
Yeah.
You know, maybe
When
buildings.
before it was literally the staple of like what
Yeah.
became it's kind of like a port. Like the cities are built around ports, or built
Yep.
around the stops of the railroads.
Mm-hmm.
It was important. Now it's a nuisance.
It's
like
a
the biggest
nuisance, but like
ever.
they were here first, and they
Right.
have like precedents, and there's all sorts of interesting laws. I don't know about it, but just hearing him talk over the years like was very intriguing about the railroad history. Yeah.
But also sometimes they want to stop and then go backwards a little bit and then go forwards.
Hmm.
Those trains. You ever seen the trains on Essen?
Oh,
It'll
yeah,
stop
yeah.
in the middle of the day.
I thought you were talking about the progression of
No.
ports.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
Progression.
Yeah.
No, I was thinking about
Like the literal, like
the
how it
literal
moves.
train. Like
Yeah.
it's like you don't want to be a nuisance, but then they will stop in the middle of the road and then go backwards.
And you know
go
what?
forwards.
Like, you know, they are part of the economy, but like this executive said, like we were here first, so
Yeah.
Right.
you know, everyone else has to like work around us, which I never really thought of. I guess they're so old.
Yeah.
We don't know that. We don't have that concept. So I just
No.
always found that very intriguing.
I agree with that.
And then also, as it relates to cigars, I mean, we have a lot of people in the railroad industry that are very pro cigar, from executives, engineers, and people on the train. It's always intriguing how like
Yeah.
that industry was always seemed to be very pro cigar.
That would be.
Yeah.
Okay.
But to finish up, like the cigar 101, so they roll the filler together, with a binder leaf, roll it up, put in these little slots that they call molds, and then they put some pressure with a hydraulic press. You've probably seen that.
Okay.
They like stack these molds into these columns, and then they take this press, put pressure, and then let it sit for some time, usually like 30, 45 minutes, depending on the factory. Then they relieve the pressure, and then they take the molds, take apart each mold and do a quarter turn on every cigar, and then they repeat that press. Because when you get that first press, you get this seam
Right.
that's created. So they got to like quarter turn it to press it again and get rid of that seam. And that's why these cigars, handmade cigars, have this nice, like, very like rigid, like very structural,
Yeah, exactly right.
shape to it.
Yeah.
It's because of that pressing period. Then after the press, then they apply the wrapper leaf. And that's what you
that's
see on
what
the
goes on.
outside.
Okay.
And the wrapper leaf is one of the more, I guess, important parts of the blend. You know, it usually has to be grade A or very top grade, because this is the first thing you see, right? When you're a
Right.
consumer, you're going to judge the book by its cover. And in order for this manufacturer to attract you to maybe buy his cigar, they want to focus on that wrapper leaf, make sure it's very clean, looks aesthetically pleasing. And it does deliver a major part of the flavor component. As to what percentage, that's very much debated. And I think it really depends on the factory and depends on the filler, like how strong the filler is.
Yeah.
But it is a big contribution to the blend itself. So
Interesting.
I know it's kind of like a real fast 101. I may have deconstructed too easily, but there's a lot more that goes on into it. But in the end, I tell people, when you're ready to cut and light, you cut it, you cut the head, like the foot, and then you just puff and then just relax.
Interesting.
And for every blend, there's a fan and critic. So I'm hoping you guys like it. If not,
Yeah.
hey, there are plenty of other cigars
Right.
for you to try, and you'll find some, there's a cigar out there for everyone.
Let me ask you this with because I'm just now realizing that there's different types of cuts.
Okay.
Right. So does a certain type of cigar require a certain type of cut? Like, because there's the like punch hole, right? And then there's the clip, or does that really not matter?
Well, it can. I think a lot of it, again, is personal preference.
Right.
But there will be a difference. I like the straight cut personally just because it allows for the largest opening. So think about like a punch, you know, and depending on the diameter of the punch too. Now they have it to where they have different millimeters. So you can have a punch cutter that almost takes the diameter of this cigar. Yeah. And some people like the punch because it is a little bit cleaner. It keeps the cap more intact, I guess. Then the V cutter, I heard the V cutter, and I got to talk to industry people, but I heard years ago that the V cutter was developed to assist in cutting the short filler and the mixed filler cigars. What that means is, with your more premium cigars, the filler is what we call long leaf. Okay. It's basically the first pickings of a leaf.
Okay.
And they don't chop it up. They're going to use like as much of that long leaf as possible. So think about it, I guess, as like extra virgin olive oil. It's not as refined or processed as like the next level. And then,
Right.
And so whenever these cigars are made, there's usually little choppings and trimmings. These factories don't throw that away. They'll collect it and they might reuse it in like the inexpensive, handmade cigars. They call them short filler cigars, mixed filler, because it might be a mix of long filler and short filler. You'll even find that a lot of the trimmings go to the mass market segment.
Interesting.
And what that means is like, think of like the Swisher Sweets or the Phillies or the Blunts.
Yeah.
They literally take those, and sometimes it's from the floors, they say, or from the tables. They make it where it's hygienic and fine. But they basically put them into and make them into sheets and press them into these sheets. So it's like particle board of tobacco. And they'll reuse it on like those inexpensive machine made or what we call the mass market segment.
Interesting. So why wouldn't
Swisher is like a Vienna sausage of cigars?
Something like that, yeah. Which actually is funny you say that, but like they bought Drew Estate a few years ago, so they're into the premium cigar segment too.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is it one of those things they have a different name for their higher end cigars? Like if it's a black and mild, they have another type.
They might. I mean, a lot of these companies will have, like, they'll target the premium side.
Yeah. Maybe
the bundle market, what they call it, where it's still kind of handmade, but they're inexpensive. And some of them are machine finished or hand finished. I forget the terminology, where part of the process is machine made.
Yeah.
But then it is finished maybe by hand. But Swisher is an example of one who they started off, I guess, with the mass market.
Yeah.
The machine maids.
Right.
And they've always wanted to enter the premium space. But
they've built a brand. So for somebody who doesn't know much at all and they're trying to pick a cigar, they may just pick a Swisher because they know the brand, not really concerned about how good it really is, maybe. So
wait, you're saying like, say that again?
So you're saying like some companies like Swisher will try to go into like a more premium type of cigar, right? Is that what you were saying?
Well, yeah, I mean, in this example, right?
Okay, I got you.
Swisher was known for like the mass market.
Right.
And they'd always wanted to really target the premium segment as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And years ago, they tried with other brands that maybe a lot of people don't know about, but I remember from like 20 years ago, like Bearing, I think there was a brand called Casino Gold, but I guess like a lot of shops just, they were very resistant because there's this like sense that, oh no, you're Swisher. Like I can't carry you in my humidor. I'm trying to think of a good analogy that would be comparable, like in another industry. But anyway, what Swisher did was eventually buy out Drew Estate, who was already an established premium cigar maker via like acids and then like the traditional like Undercrowns or Liga Privadas.
Interesting. So it's kind of like Coca-Cola, right? Like Coca-Cola owns Dasani as well. So it's like Coca-Cola is mentioned as like an unhealthy brand, but then you have
and maybe Dasani, I don't know if they created that brand or maybe it was some other water company that they bought beforehand. I don't know.
Right.
But yeah, you see that, I guess, in all these industries where, but yeah, no, the Swisher, and it's not like every company, like, believe it or not, our industry is made up mostly of like families, private entities. They're not really publicly held. There are a couple, but it's rare. It's still kind of like a small family business, and our industry is really small, believe it or not.
Yeah.
You know, like the vape industry when they started, they were already bigger than the premium cigar world.
Really?
Yeah, which had been established now, I guess. You know, people say that the first modern day cigar, which is wrapper, binder, filler, was invented in Spain, I think in 1670 something. So then as an industry, it's, you know, over
Been around for a long
450
time,
years. Yeah. But it really wasn't until like the late 1800s where we entered the golden age in this country and then have just, you know, been relevant. Even like, so you had the boom of the 90s, which was a big time for the cigar industry when you had people like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Bruce Willis, Demi Moore, like the actors of the 90s, along with Bill Clinton was a big cigar smoker.
right.
The advent of Cigar Aficionado magazine in 92. Like back then, that was just like this huge boom because in the 80s, it was like a dark time for the cigar industry.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't really smoke cigars. And then the boom popped in the late 90s, kind of floundered, but ever since like early 2003, it's just steadily been taken off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw my first cigar on Space Jam.
Oh,
The
what?
Pit Boss in Space Jam.
Okay.
He had a cigar,
Oh,
and
man.
he was always chewing on it.
Was it a cartoon
It was a
figure?
cartoon. Yeah. So it was.
Which now is like very taboo.
I
Like,
know, really.
now, if you show tobacco on a movie screen or in a movie,
Interesting, yeah.
you get like an R rating or something. Like you get docked, I guess, for.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
You are right. But yeah, first one I saw was Space Jam, and then later on the A-Team. That I love it when a plan comes together.
Nice. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
when he's hitting the cigar.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
one of my-
So I mean, the cigar has always been iconic in like popular culture in this country. I mean, there's plenty of examples. Like going back to like a cartoon, I never saw Space Jam, but one of my favorite movies growing up was Who Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I always
yeah,
like that character, Baby Herman,
Yes.
the little baby who smoked a cigar. You
Yeah.
know, but I
never
can't
happen
imagine
today.
you couldn't. Yeah, you couldn't do that today. Like
There's a
people
lot
would
of
freak
movies
out.
you could not do.
Yeah,
There was,
yeah.
I can't remember. There was a movie I was watching the other day, and I was like,
I know.
Dodgeball.
It's synonymous with like the American gangster too and all, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Scarface and
Also
all
with
that.
like American success.
Yeah.
Or celebrating a milestone
Of
or
course,
achievement.
right.
Like think about the graduation cigar,
That's a good point.
the wedding
Joe
cigar
Burrow picture.
Yeah, the Joe Burrow, the birth of a baby. Like
Yeah.
this is so entrenched in American culture and even tobacco itself. My first guest was a Native American, and they were the first people in human history to use tobacco.
Right.
They viewed it as a divine product, where so many tyrants throughout history have viewed it as a negative. But tobacco is what built this country.
Yeah.
And the economy too. So they try to like hide that.
Really?
But I mean, that's what happened. So,
That's interesting.
you know,
Do they try to hide it because of all the negativity around like cigarettes?
I
and
think
all?
that's where it started. That's my theory.
Yeah.
You know, it started ever since the Surgeon General, and I think it was 1963, gave the first warning about tobacco. That's when
It
the
all
view of
got lumped
tobacco
together.
shifted in
Yeah.
this country.
Yeah.
Because think about like if you ever watch Mad Men,
Oh.
everyone's smoking cigarettes all the time, everywhere in the office. I remember even traveling to El Salvador because my parents are from El Salvador.
Yeah.
We used to go to El Salvador in the 80s. Even then, like I remember people could smoke in the airplane. My mom used to be a cigarette smoker back then. She'd have to go to the back of the airplane because they had the smoking section.
Yeah.
The smoking.
So
yeah,
funny.
Yeah,
that
which
there
was
a
funny 'cause you could still
smoking
smell
se-
it.
Of
Yeah.
course
Yeah, yeah.
you can. It's coming
Yeah.
from all over the place in
Yeah.
an airplane.
Exactly.
Pressurized tube.
But I think to your question, I think it was the cigarette industry that corrupted this view or started this shift of viewing tobacco really in this country as something really evil. Which I get it. Like I'll actually agree that yeah, cigarettes, you're gonna assume a risk
Right.
engaging in that product. Whereas with cigars, I can't really say, but I view it as totally different. You're
It's
not
a different culture almost, maybe.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
built around cigars.
It's not, you're not inhaling it. Like I don't have the shakes to smoke a cigar. We haven't even lit our cigars yet.
Right.
It's not like I need to light it up right away. It's whenever I'm ready to kind of relax and appreciate it. You're not inhaling. So that's a major component. And I know I'm going to get blasted with comments every time we have this little segment. We always get
Oh,
blasted like, oh no, you're lying and this and that. But there are studies out there that show the net, and you got to look at the net effect.
Right.
It's almost like negligible when it comes to adverse health effects.
Really.
Yeah. And look, I can't really say it with data, but anecdotally and what I've seen in our industry,
Right.
a lot of the cigar industry people, like they smoke what I would consider extreme amounts a day.
Yeah.
5 plus, 10 plus. There's one guy who's well known, works for Perdomo. He's like, I think he just made 93. I think he's like 93 or 94, and he smokes 12 a day. They said like he actually increases his daily amount to like 20, which I can't believe that. Like that's
Dude,
20. That's like constantly having a cigar in
It
your
is.
mouth.
It's
The
the whole
hours
time,
don't
right.
even line up. on
Yeah,
20.
exactly. Unless he's like
2 or 3
maybe
an
they're
hour, maybe.
shorter cigars. I don't know. But regardless, even
Yeah.
if it's 12 or 10, like that's extreme.
Still a lot.
If tobacco is that bad, he should not be alive.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
I
Like
hear
if it was really that poisonous, people might argue, well, oh, he's just an outlier. Well, no, I don't think so. I mean, there's so many factors, like stress, other stressors that maybe we can't account for, or
Yeah.
genetics, and that's why I think cigars are maybe good for you. Not so much the actual tobacco itself, but just the act of some object forcing you to just relax.
And
You could
calm
just-
down. That
yeah, meditate,
There might be
yeah.
a component there.
Mm-hmm.
That makes sense.
So I mean, you could probably achieve the same results without a cigar if you just meditate by yourself
Right.
and just try to like lower the heart rate.
And it's true. Like anything that just makes you slow down a little bit. Like there's a lot of science behind that. And
Yeah,
if a cigar is that thing, I mean, yeah, there could be something there.
and I can't remember. I got to look it up, but supposedly there was some scientist, maybe in Europe, maybe I think during the 20s or 30s, who had this theory that if the human cell or some sort of cell could get all the nourishment it needed, get rid of any stressor, why should it not live forever? So he tested this theory supposedly with chicken egg cells, and he would try to create an environment, I guess, in a petri dish that he would give these cells the nourishment it needed, get rid of the waste, and he basically quit the experiment, I think, after 20 or 30 years because he felt like he proved his point. The average chicken lifespan is, I think, 8 years. But he made these cells, like, live a lot longer.
Really?
Just by
test
giving it the
eliminating
nutrients
stress.
and
Just to eliminate stress. And stress comes in all forms, as we know, like whether it's mental stress or the stress of radiation that we
Right.
maybe can't even feel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I mean, these are just theories of mine. I'm not saying I totally believe it or not.
Right.
But it just, my point is, I'm not really worried
Yeah.
about cigar smoking. I'll probably dive something else. Like obviously, I'm a heavy set guy. Like that will probably kill me. So I'm trying to change my eating behavior and patterns and do more exercise. But man, over the years, like you'd be surprised. I've helped clients who were former Olympians or professional athletes, and a lot of them smoke after like an exercise regimen
Really?
because it doesn't adversely affect their like lung capacity because they're not inhaling.
Right.
Like think about
Exactly
Michael
right.
Jordan. He always smoked a cigar
Always.
after basketball practice or a
Yeah.
game,
I agree.
and plenty of other sports athletes who
seems to be
use a
coming.
cigar, right? Which might seem out counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but they're actually it might not be counterintuitive.
If you're not putting the smoke in your lungs, I mean, yeah.
Exactly. So
I also think like what you're saying too. People don't really care. I mean, obviously, it hurts adverse health risk. Like I get it.
yeah, look,
it
I'm
seems
saying
like
there
in
could
the
be an
ath-
increased health risk with doing this.
Yeah, but there's an increased health risk in anything you do. So,
Yeah.
right. If you buy the wrong type of meat at the store,
Right.
you have a health risk.
Heck,
coming.
even if you're trying to be a vegetarian, how do you know that plant wasn't doused with pesticides?
Pesticides.
exactly
all.
right.
So you're trying to do the right thing, eating, greens,
Yeah.
but that doesn't matter if it's already been corrupted with something else. So don't say it's the plant that's bad;
Yeah.
it's something else. So that could apply to so many different things.
Right. That's what I never understood about people who like are all about longevity and health, and they don't do anything. They go to bed at 8 o'clock every night. They don't have a lot. Like, what kind of life is it? Like?
I know. Well, the trade-off is maybe it's not a fun life,
That's
right?
what I'm saying. You don't have any story. You can be 102 years old, but you
Yeah.
don't have any stories. Like,
yeah.
what you're talking about. Anyway.
Yeah,
but-
that reminds me of like some joke. We've probably all heard this same joke where a guy goes to a doctor, like trying to figure out like, all right, how do I maintain the best health for the most longevity?
yeah.
The doctor's asking, like, well, do you smoke? He's like, no. Do you drink? No. Do you
Gamble?
have
Do you-
women? You
yeah.
gamble? He's like, no. Well, then why do you want to live that long? It's not that fun.
Right. Right.
I guess
Exactly
that's kind of like what
It is.
It
And I
sounds
think
like you're
people
talking
are
about
getting into it because like what Josh is saying too, the American gangster, right? The cigar smoking, but now
The Kingpin, if you ever watch the Marvel comics, he's always with a cigar.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So now, like all these athletes, like now it's gotten into the WNBA, right? So Kelsey Plume, she plays for the Las Vegas Aces.
Okay.
She just recreated that Joe Burrow image after I think they won the WNBA title last year, and she was in her locker and she was smoking. So now you see kind of the women's side of things getting into cigars, kind of in the same athlete. And then Chad Ochocinco or Chad Johnson, he just came out with his cigars 89.
Yeah.
So it's a
was it 89 or 85?
85.
Okay.
85.
Yeah.
Oops. 85.
That's all good.
Yeah, but he just promoted it on the Shannon Sharp podcast,
Whoa,
and they like sold out while they were on the air.
When did he promote this?
It was literally the day after the Cat Williams thing.
That's funny you mention that because, like, in the last few weeks, we've been getting more people asking for the Chad Ochocinco cigar, and I'm wondering, like,
it was literally
where's this coming from?
Weeks ago,
so the podcast that he did it on, I don't know if you're familiar with Shannon Sharp and his podcast, but he had Cat Williams on, the comedian.
I heard about this. It was controversial.
Yeah,
huh?
He's had
It's like a tell-all.
over
Something. I didn't
60
see
million views on this, and I think his most popular was 18 million, somewhere around, which is still a ton of views.
Yeah.
But Cat Williams popped off. Well, the episode after, they had promoted Shannon Sharp's alcohol or something on the podcast with Cat Williams that obviously sold out, crashed the site. Well, the next episode was them talking about, like, going back over, like, reviewing the Cat Williams episode.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, they promote Chad Ochocinco's, and then it sold out.
Wow.
So I promise you, a lot of people listen, because I did. I listened to it, and those
Okay.
are the only 2 episodes I've listened of Shannon Sharp's podcast.
That's
So
interesting.
now they're coming in asking you for.
Yeah, a lot of people have been asking for that cigar. I'm like,
95 cigar,
where's
yeah.
this coming from?
Yeah.
And we have these kind of things that occur like that.
Where every now and
I
then
can
you'll get
imagine.
like
Yeah.
a new ask, and you're not sure why. Then you probably have to trace
but we
it
know
back.
that there's a reason for it.
Right.
Absolutely.
I know it's not just spontaneous. Like,
Absolutely.
and I, as a good businessman, I'm trying to figure out, like, keep ahead of the trends,
Yeah.
so we can profit off of it too. Like,
Right.
where's this coming from?
You need to get Cat Williams on.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
man,
how
that'd
you
be awesome.
profit off of it.
Yeah,
know,
just get him in
exactly.
here. Let him just spit
I
all
know.
the stuff.
Well, that's. I mean, look, we're a new podcast. Like,
Yeah.
going back, I guess, for listeners wondering, we met at the Patty G patio party
Yep.
a few weeks ago. Patty G was our second guest in episode 2,
cool.
who has his own podcast. You guys were guests on his show too, huh? And you talked about your story, and it was just a good party, to, like, network and talk to other people in the community.
Yeah.
And we were just, chit chatting, and I liked y'all's story about y'all getting into cigars. That, like, excited me.
Yeah, big golf connoisseur.
Yeah.
So that comes with
Oh, yeah,
golf.
that's true, too.
That's
Yeah,
the
yeah.
area. But I think we just had we were getting into it. So then when you, and also I'm a big fan of people following like what they're passionate about to actually do that for a living. That's
Right,
not
that's
a lot of
cool
people
to
do
you.
that. So then talking to you, like that's us sitting here going like, it's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool. That's a vision. So it's cool. So I think we just naturally did. And then for when we started talking about why you do the podcast and
Right.
why it is this, well, you're being creative and you're having to use this as a which when we were coming, we were like, oh, like, we're going to do the podcast. And I literally looked at Josh and said, this is going to be awesome because we don't have to like promote our business. We just get to come sit down and just actually just have a conversation, which is
That's awesome.
nice for us just to not, because you have to be on all the time.
I know.
So to like come in,
Put on your game, like, professional face.
Always. And I think I even talked to you about that at the patio party. It was like, just to actually have a conversation with somebody, you don't have to, this is what I do for a living. Let's just have a normal conversation and let's not have the, I guess, surface level type. Let's actually talk about something that we're interested
Looking for
in.
an angle kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You can get really tired of that stuff. So,
Yeah, I'd imagine that.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad y'all are here. And look,
to
with
be
that,
here.
let's, y'all want to light up?
Let's do it.
I think this is the first time, like, this is the longest we've gone into an episode.
I was about to
without lighting
ask,
up.
what's the longest
Yeah,
you
which
have
is
you just done
fine.
an entire podcast
Yeah.
without actually lighting
Yeah,
the cigar?
no,
It's
not
just
yet.
been a prop.
So let's light up here. So
Let's do it.
if you need any tips, I can offer them or cut them for you, but it's pretty simple. Let me let y'all do it. I'm sure you've cut cigars, but if you look at your cigar, the top portion nearest the band is called the head. And if you look at the head, there's this one, almost like this circle. I call it the Arctic Circle of the cigar. You basically want to cut north of that Arctic Circle because the cap is what keeps the wrapper intact. If you cut way too far, that wrapper, the way it's rolled, it'll start to unravel. You've had that happen?
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, yeah. 100%.
So you can kind of eyeball it, and all you do is just kind of like dig in a little bit and then just cut straight across. If you're still unsure, a little cheat with the, and I guess see if the camera will pick it up. One little cheat is you place the cutter on the table, open it, put the cigar like that, and then you can just cut it across. Because the backing of this table is like, and with the height of the cutter, it's kind of the good, like right around the right point where you want to cut it.
Okay.
Interesting.
So that's a little cheat too if you want to do that. I think that's why I like the punch cutter too. You know, it might be preferable for a lot of people because it's pretty simple. It's just a circular cutter that you can easily just eyeball and just punch that hole out. So
I use a golf tee.
Nice.
Yeah,
there you go.
We'll just punch it. But sometimes if it, I think we were talking about that because if you don't keep it in a humidor, if you don't like, you go get it from a grocery store, you go get it from somewhere. Sometimes they're not kept well, so then you punch them, and then all of a sudden you start getting all that fray on it. And
So one little tip I like to do in that case where you don't know if it's not dry or if it's not like humid enough. So if you have your own cutter, I don't recommend doing this if you're going to use like a public cutter, right, where other people are going to use it,
right?
Because of the sanitary component. What I would do is just kind of put the cigar to your mouth before, so you kind of moisten it up. Mm-hmm. If you find that it's dry, and then you would use your punch cutter or cutter. But don't do that because we even have signage here where we'll see people, they want to use our public cutter, but they just have that natural habit, that kind of ritual of themselves where they always do it no matter what.
Yeah.
And you've seen in movies where like they'll even lick the cigar. Stuff, yeah. And there's a reason why people did that back like 50, 70 years ago. But just consider that if one's going to do that and use someone else's cutter, don't lick the cigar. You're going to cut it because that saliva is going to be on that cutter for the next person. So, but do that if you have your own cutter. If you find the cigar is maybe a little bit drier. So, but yeah, why people, if you ever see like old movies, like black and white movies, like the guy might basically lick the whole cigar.
Yeah.
That started because a lot of humidors back then weren't as humidified. So the cigars were a little bit drier.
So they just wanted to try to get
so they would try to add the extra moisture by like imparting some of that saliva, which I don't know. It's kind of weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus with like the pH. Yeah, it's almost like kind of weird looking too. Yeah.
So some people say that they can get the same feeling from a cigar smoking it when they chew it. Michael Jordan's a big proponent of this. He chews his cigars. Okay. And if you ever see pictures of him with a cigar and actually zoom in on the cigar, it's
all chewed up. Yeah.
All chewed up.
So that's a personal ritual, right?
Yeah.
Not like the purists would frown on that.
Okay.
But we actually have customers that only buy cigars, not even to light it. They're just chewing on it all day. Instead of, I guess, buying it to smoke. Yeah. And instead of buying dip.
Yeah.
For some reason that makes them more comfortable. You know, and for some of us, you know, you know those people that are always chewing gum or always have to have something in their mouth. It's that oral fixation. Like, I guess for them, the cigar is that remedy for that. For them.
For you, you'll sell it to whatever way they do it.
Yeah, I don't care. Yeah. That's why I've always told like other staffers, like,
I don't care.
I don't care if they cut that cigar in half or they break it in half. Right. After they buy it, they can do whatever they want.
They can do whatever they want. Just don't do it in the store before.
Before you buy it. Yeah, for sure. So lighting procedure, you could either use a soft flame, which is what I like, just because it's a lower temperature, it doesn't char the tobacco. Yeah. You can let the flame actually touch the foot,
kind of roll
it, or torch. But keep in mind with a torch, you know, it's an intense blue flame. It's higher. It's a higher temperature. A lot of people will recommend just kind of start from a distance, let it roast. Because if you put it too close, it'll char the tobacco, and the initial puffs will be kind of a burnt, charry sensation, which it'll dissipate maybe after an inch, but now that's an inch that you've almost wasted and can't fully appreciate. But I always have a torch lighter in my arsenal, especially if I'm golfing like you guys will do, just because it's windy.
Outside and stuff.
Yeah, it's windy, and sometimes it's just hard to keep that. So torch is good. And you'll hear the people saying like, I don't ever light with a torch. Well, no, it's fine. It's just because the gas is neutral. Just don't put it so close. Just leave it far enough away and just kind of roast it. And then after you got a good roast, some people right away will just take it to the mouth and just light it, right? And then you want to visually inspect. Make sure, the entire surface area is lit. Because I've seen a lot of beginners maybe leave that last little corner, right? And it's some people do that on purpose to see the combustion and make sure, like over time, a great cigar it'll self-correct. But I don't like that. Visually, it just there's some like negative, like I don't know, I just get weird OCD.
Yeah.
Like I want to make sure it's evenly lit. Sometimes just blowing on that ember will catch and spread.
Yeah.
Or just kind of lightly touch it up again, you're good. So
Interesting.
I leave the lighting to you guys if you want to do a soft flame or a torch or the matches. With a match, if you're going to do a match,
Yeah, tell me about a match.
let the sulfur burn out, because a lot of people say like, oh, the pure way to light a cigar is with a match, which maybe, but the point is, if you're going to use a match, let the sulfur burn out for a few seconds, and then you can light it. But the match is kind of the same function of like a soft flame lighter, like the Jeep model that you're using, Josh, and Peyton, you're using the torch lighter. It's all personal preference, so there's no right or wrong. But sometimes there's some snobs. That's what I do hate about the industry. Like you have these snobs that almost kind of.
There's always a snob.
Yeah, they almost put you down. It's like if you don't know enough, but like, yeah, I never agree with that. Just do what you want to do, and if you're happy with it, but know that there are certain procedures or tips for some people that will be better than others. You know, whether it's a soft flame or a torch or a straight cutter or a punch cutter, it's all the personal preference. So,
okay, so we're gonna chest our.
Yeah, just kind of double check. Yeah, double check that it's all charred or lit. And that's it. And then, like I said earlier, the point of smoking a cigar is to relax, to draw in the smoke, taste the smoke, all without inhaling, and then blow it back out. That's it. Know that if you puff a lot per minute, the temperature increases and gets hotter and hotter and hotter. And you don't want that, because you want it a little bit cooler. If you don't puff enough on it, it will go out. But with a lot of cigars, it might take several minutes without a puff and it goes out. Some cigars go out faster than others. So you have to nurture it, but it's just really up to you to decide like how often to puff it and just relax with it. So
when I did try to get into cigars one time, like I did a lot of YouTube videos, and one YouTube video said you want it to almost be going out. And if you can keep it at that level of being lit, I guess that's kind of ideal. Is that right? Basically,
I understand what they're saying with that is because it's as cool as you can get it.
The opposite of that is somebody's just like keeping it as lit as possible.
If you keep puffing and puffing and puffing, that temperature keeps increasing, and then you get, in the pipe tobacco world, they even call it tongue bite, which is just an unpleasant, almost prickly sensation. It's just. I don't know if it's a mixture of nicotine or tars or the moisture and just the temperature is too hot, where it kind of like prickles the tongue. It's not a pleasant sensation. So that just means slow down in the puffing. So maybe to that YouTubers.
Okay. And then what about letting the smoke roll around the mouth or something? That was the other thing that whatever this guy was saying.
So here's the thing with that. I've seen some people, and these are some cigar smokers who've been smoking for decades. Again, it's a personal ritual, but your sense of taste can only detect, what is it, salty, bitter, sweet, sour. I don't know if it's acidic, if I said that or not. And then there's like the umami, like that savory.
Yeah.
The other complex flavors really come from your sense of smell.
Yes. Yep.
And so maybe that's the point of him saying that. Yeah, there are a lot of people who've like deconstructed this aspect, and this can really be applied to drinking whiskeys or wine or enjoying foods. Coffee. Most of the flavor perception comes from the old nasal passage.
Okay.
And so there's actually this technique that we call retrohaling. What you do is you draw in the smoke, and then you basically release it, exhale through the nasal passages, all without inhaling.
Right.
And it sounds very strange, but just practice with air. Like you're drawing in air via like the mouth, right? You draw in that negative pressure, and then you release and push that air, because there's a connection, right, of the olfactory chamber to your orphan, the oral chamber. And what you're doing, the point of that is that smoke hits that gland more directly, and that's where perception occurs more like extreme.
Yeah.
So if you ever see like wine judgings, the reason why it's not just to be arrogant, like they're gurgling and they're agitating the air.
Yeah. They're doing whatever they can to
and they actually, a lot of them will blow that air through the nose to perceive and pick up like really subtle nuances. So if you're just drawing in smoke and then just blowing out, which is fine, I do that too. You're not realizing enough of like the flavors of that smoke, especially like the real subtle stuff. Now I tell people if you're going to do that, don't force it either, because some tobaccos, that's also a good way to tell how like well fermented a cigar is or tobacco is. If it's a little astringent or pungent, when you do that, it almost like hurts to do that. So I tell people stop at that point and just do the regular puff and release.
Yeah, it's kind of
don't try to force that. But with these, you can almost. I almost tried retrohaling it. It's almost like effortless. It doesn't deliver like so. Try it. I mean, but just be careful if you do feel like some negativity. Yeah, just stop. But it's weird. Like when you do retrohale a lot of these tobaccos, you perceive flavors that you normally wouldn't, and that's where like some of these descriptors are really valid. They're just not. Some I think people are being cute or trying to project more authority, but they're just kind of like winging it. Yeah. But when you hear notes of like say cocoa or coffee, nutty, fruit, like sometimes that is legitimate. I've had some cigars that almost remind me of like a banana profile. It's weird. Or like a cashew or almond. But in the end, like if I can't really like describe that flavor, I'll just say it kind of reminds me of that. It's only the best way to describe it. Because there's some cigars that almost like so many have like this coffee profile. It's like that's kind of like that's just so encompassing, right? But like some really do have like, oh man, this almost really does have like a coffee or espresso profile, all without being flavored.
Yeah, because you got a lot of them that are like flavored espresso.
Yeah. In the end, I tell people, look, don't even worry about all that. Just puff, enjoy, and judge it. If you like it, awesome. If not, go on to the next cigar. So you either like it or you don't.
Right.
So how have you been doing in the cigar podcasting space? How's that been? Like,
let's see. So you guys, I think it'll be episode 34. We've been doing this since June of 2023. We try to do it once a week. I think there are only like 2 or 3 weeks that we missed, whether it was a holiday or just like not happy with like editing a certain episode, and it's been fun. Like,
have you talked about like the origin of it? Like, what was the initial thought? When you first started, was it like we really want to do this, or did it just kind of happen organically? Or
so I wanted to do this back in 2015.
Okay, so yeah,
in our old store, but it was smaller. We didn't really have the space that we felt would not to be like high production value, because this is actually pretty like low investment. But we try to make it to where it's clean and looks professional, and we just didn't have that space in the old store. And I didn't want to do it at my house because I couldn't bring like industry people. It just wouldn't work. So when we moved to this space in, what was it, June of 22, we had this room, and it's like, it's a little too small for like
to put
another
the chairs
lounge
in and stuff. Yeah,
and it's like, wait, we could do the podcast here. So that's where we started. Cool. And that's where we jump started.
It's always been a thought, and then the space kind of you found it.
Yeah. But like I was telling you at Patty G's party, a lot of it had to do with like the tobacco views of social media. A lot of these tech companies are anti-tobacco. They have prohibitions on, like, I've always wanted to pay the X's of the world or the Facebooks of the world. They always block our ad account. And it's like, no, we don't accept money because you're dealing in tobacco. They also don't accept money from like, I think drugs or paraphernalia. So a lot of them have alcohol, but I've seen alcohol ads, which is weird. So I don't know how they get past that. And maybe they're playing the system or they're paying under the table. I don't know, but it's not fair. It seems like where they have a prohibition on this industry and some other companies get through. So it's weird. But they don't prohibit like us creating our own content. We just can't pay to advertise or promote it or like, push it out. So we had to rely on people like resharing.
Wow.
So that was another motivation for doing this kind of podcast, was kind of get around, offer good content, engage in conversations, and all really while promoting our e-commerce platform.
Okay.
That's right. That's right.
So people will be seeing, obviously it's, shameless plug, but like, if you want to support the podcast for the viewers or listeners, this is how you can help us, get our money back and keep, producing this kind of content.
So how does the online shopping work? Like if you were to order something, do you ship it to the house?
Okay. Yeah, we ship across the country, and last year we did phenomenal. Like we've seen, double digit growth year over year on the
Wow.
e-commerce platform.
Yeah.
And that's what we're trying to develop, because no matter where someone bases a business location to really scale, like you gotta sell in big bulk, and the internet is a perfect vehicle for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What was you were telling me you have a friend that does the e-commerce, but he had got hooked up with Joe Rogan.
Were you talking about Foundation Cigars?
I believe so. You said it was one of your buddies that.
Yeah. So Nick Melillo is the owner of Foundation Cigars. He makes these cigars. He's a manufacturer, blender, and I've known him actually since 2003 was the first time I met him, when he was at Drew Estate. He used to work for Drew Estate. He was their tobacco buyer. So he's like uber, like, as Joe Rogan calls him, cigar head.
Yeah.
And I don't know how like his cigars ended up in Joe Rogan's podcast.
Yeah.
I think Nick told me the story. It's like a friend of a friend
Yeah.
that introduced him, and he loved it.
Yeah.
And they hooked up. I don't know if they've ever met face to face, or at least talking by phone or whatever, but like Nick has created a cigar for the Joe Rogan podcast. So the cigars you see him smoking on there, that's from Foundation
Majority
Cigars.
or all of them.
Yeah.
are.
Yeah.
So it seems like, could you get people that are in, let's say, like Patty G, if he lights up a cigar on his podcast, would that be a way to? Can
Yeah.
you do that, or is that something where that
right now there's no restrictions
got
on?
Got it.
That's what's weird about the podcast world, and I listen to Joe Rogan, and he's awesome. I mean, he's obviously like the greatest of all time with podcasting, and he'll talk about this. Like right now, the FCC doesn't really have any regulation over podcasts, and that is something that's been discussed. Like reining in, like these people projecting, like, you know, whatever content they're disseminating.
Which is interesting though, because which again, you could just put up a paywall and then you could talk about whatever you want.
That's probably like where it might have to go to for like what they consider the vice industries.
Yeah,
maybe
you have to. That's a good point. Vice, that YouTube channel, all that stuff.
Whatever they deem a vice, which to me is very like random and subjective.
But which is interesting that you're creating it, right? You're monetarily supporting it. So then the fact that you can't just say whatever it is that you want to say, because they have to choose, like they have to push the play button.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
they choose. Yeah, the viewer chooses to engage or listen to the content.
It just automatically pops up on their feed or something.
But we know, like, this is also featured on YouTube. Like, we have to watch what we say. We just can't show nudity or I'm sure they have like, or you know, I guess utter like hate speech. I know there are like certain things that YouTube does not like and will kill you if you promote.
You're gonna have to keep your clothes on for this podcast.
We tried to make a YouTube channel. They
cut us out fast.
Are you what?
Oh, dude, we got dropped immediately.
Something wrong.
It's with third party. So we basically have our website through domain.com, and it's not through Google Works or Work Suite, whatever it's called. I've been in constant emails. So basically, because it's not something in domain is not approved for our SSL or whatever it is, so they just keep pocketing it. And all it is Google Workspace. The admin email that I have is not the email that's on YouTube. So it's been, so I keep sending stuff to domain.com and it's like, oh, we're going to get back to you in 24 hours. Well, then I'll reach out like a week later and be like, hey, just following up on this case. We still have our technicians working on it. It's been that way for 2 months now. Oh, man. So we're trying to get it going, but anytime we put up a video, it immediately gets cut down. And now we literally can't even log into our YouTube.
It's nothing like offensive you're putting out there. Like it's just
but I don't
something
know.
technical that they don't like.
I don't know if we did like some copyright music or if we, I don't know what it is, but nobody really can explain it. And then you just can't like get YouTube on the phone. You can't get Meta on the phone. It's all talking to a Google Assistant or whatever. So it's like I just can't get an answer. And then domain, I'm chatting with somebody, but I'm messaging and it's like IM. That's exactly how it's going. So anyway, we're trying to figure it out. But
so I wanted to bring up. So we were talking earlier about kind of just playing the different games with like the algorithm and everything.
Yeah.
So I wanted to tell you. So we posted a video on our Instagram. We've been trying to make it a point to be more consistent with it, posting different videos and stuff like on our social media. For whatever reason, we had a video I guess it's going viral. If that means
What?
It's like what is it?
1.2.
This on Instagram?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here, I'll pull it up.
1.2 million views right now.
Are you serious?
We have no
But we
idea.
have no
There's
idea why.
no.
And that's what I was going to ask you. Like, we have no clue. And
no
then
clue.
over the past 3 days, we've had follower after follower after follower, and they're not.
What's your handle? What's your handle
At Sasquatch Waste.
for Instagram?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
It's Sasquatch Waste.
Okay.
So I don't
Let's
know if
see.
you have any insight into like what in the world's going on, but the amount of followers we've gained, and they're not. I think half of them are fake, probably.
I
but
think the
we
marketing.
didn't
They could
pay
be.
for 'em. I don't
Yeah.
know. We didn't try to do the pay for follower.
That's y'all
route.
right there?
Yeah,
That's
that's
okay.
it. So I guess.
And
I'll-
now, how
we'll
many
tell 'em-
followers is that at now?
Well, it says 840.
Dude, we were at 650 Tuesday night.
Oh, wow.
We were at 400 last week. We have no idea.
Yeah, that's
So
like
what we're
a
saying is we
20,
don't know
30% increase. That's
what
that's really big.
happened with the algorithm that made that one video shoot up, and then
Oh, is it this one? 11,000? No?
no, it's
If
not
you
even
click
a
on
good
the
video.
click on the real are you on the reels section of
Yeah.
Look for a green dumpster.
It's the
like a lime green dumpster. Keep going. Left. Right
This
in your
one?
middle. Yep, that one. Is that it?
Yeah.
Let me see.
should just
Or
say
maybe, I
1.2
don't know.
million.
There it is. No. Dude, where is it? Oh, there it is. 1.2, the right side of the screen.
Holy cow, 1.2 million.
And look
have
at
no
it. Watch
idea.
the video. It's not even.
nothing.
So
Alright.
what? I guess we should say what.
It was the third compaction on that dumpster, so it didn't really do much. It's just a cool video. So like we're getting flamed in the comments. Everybody's like, "Well, this didn't do anything." Well, it's the third compaction on the same dumpster. It just happened to be the right lighting. I think it's a mixture of the lighting. I think it's a mixture of the dumpster being really bright green. I think it's catchy to the eye.
We've
I don't
tried
know.
to figure out. We've tried to analyze it and say like, what
Yeah,
did we
because you
do?
want to recreate that, right?
it.
Like that's the goal of anyone on social media is
But then
recreate.
now it's like you look at the different view counts. So you can see like when we first started, you're getting like 200 views, 300 views, 15 views. Now the last 4 or 5 posts that we posted have gotten like 5,000, 6,000, 15,000. And there's no rhyme or reason behind it.
So what we do, just
So
for
I'm following
anybody who
y'all, so
listens,
that
is
another-
there we
follow
go.
y'all.
in there.
So we have a truck that backs up to dumpsters.
Yeah,
Just,
let's
you know,
get to who you are. What do y'all do?
So we were a mobile compaction service.
Okay.
So in April of 22 is when we kicked off. We started. We actually bought the trucks and picked them up at the beginning of 22, but full speed in April. And so what our trucks do is we back up to open top dumpsters, 30-yard, 20-yard, 15-yard dumpsters. Has to be that construction open top type of can. Back up to it, drop this 3-ton barrel inside the dumpster, smash, consolidate all the waste, and the whole purpose is to try to reduce the amount of dumpster swaps that a company goes through. Just by consolidating, compacting. I mean, you think of the trash can in your house.
Yeah.
Like when it's kind of full with a bunch of paper plates and stuff, you smush it down in your hand.
Okay.
So same concept. It's just a truck that does that for the dumpster world. So
So is it so obviously is the value proposition you offering this service to a client is cheaper to do this than having to turn constantly for these pickups?
on average, we are 1/5 of the price of what a new dumpster is, and most dumpsters are filled with just nothing but bulky airspace, and everybody knows that. Everybody's been trying to compact their 30-yard dumpster, jumping up and down forklifts, whatever they can. But yeah, the whole purpose is instead of you getting a new dumpster for $600, let me smash it down, get some more room in it, and just overall, we've seen most of our customers are saving about 30% of their waste budget, which for some
Wow,
customers,
that's huge. 30%.
they spend $180,000 at the end of the year. So 25-30% for them is a big deal.
Yeah.
We have one industrial client. We will save them a little under $500,000 by compacting their trash. Now, granted, they are like the most extreme type of customer. They're paying the highest dollar amount per swap. They're
Okay.
going through a ton of swaps per day. So I mean, they're like our best customer. But for them, it's drastic. Like it is a big deal.
Yeah.
So
You're
anyways,
offering
that's-
them value. I mean, you're saving them.
That's
money.
what we do. We
I
ride
literally just
around
compacting trash.
smashing trash.
So what was the genesis of this idea? Was this
It,
something new in the industry or?
What's really cool about this, you know, you kind of hear that concept like America's kind of behind on certain things with, green energy and stuff. So in Europe, they've been doing compaction for like 30 plus years. And actually the compaction machine that we have is a European company that they built onto a Kenworth chassis.
Oh.
And started going. So in the States, it's been, I think 12 or 13 years ago was like the first company that started doing it. Since then there's two major franchises that we know about, there's probably 50 or 60 independent companies like us. So it's a growing industry, but it's still very, very new. Like educating the general public is like our main objective now.
And that's like your main barrier now.
Yes,
because this is totally new. Like I've never realized this is like an issue.
It's very new. Exactly. And
I
that's
also think we have the most followers in the space.
We do. So we've really been pushing hard to do social media and to do advertising because we have to educate.
Yep.
And we just.
So I'm assuming, not to cut you off, you're probably talking to these decision makers who are probably older, not to like make a negative comment, but like I'm only bringing this up because it's the same thing in our industry, right? There's so many like these established old shops or manufacturers who have this notion that just because I've been doing this for 30 or 50 years, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Exactly.
But I've always felt, being a lover and a student of business, that's such a dangerous philosophy because if you rest on your laurels, that means someone hungry or who's innovative can disrupt you and just dethrone you.
Yes.
I mean, think about Sears and Amazon. That's like the perfect example. Sears was just too late to the game. They kind of poo-pooed on Amazon this whole time. Meanwhile, they were behind the scenes kind of building their army. And before he knew it, Sears didn't know, like, why are we irrelevant? Why are we out of business?
Right. By the time they realized it was too far gone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that's a challenge. You're trying to educate people that didn't understand this.
We didn't know it was going to be as big of a challenge as what it is. We thought, because it made sense to us and because we knew the numbers, that we were going to come into the market and everybody's going to be like, yes, makes sense. And some customers, yes, it's immediate. But we were surprised at how many people were like...
The resistant.
Well, man, I just call my dumpster company, they just pick it up. We're like, we know. You've been doing that forever. And this is something new. And this is a problem you didn't know you had. And so we actually talked to another guy at the patio party. This guy's name's Dom. And he had a really, really brilliant kind of idea. He basically said, what I do is, in his industry, he's in logistics. And he said, I had to learn how to sell the problem. And that clicked to us because we're like...
I was right there when I heard that.
Okay.
That was so profound.
Yes, you were literally right there when you did it.
Yeah, selling the problem, not the solution.
Because we're running around telling you the solution to a problem like you didn't know you had. Like you just get your dumpster, you have a budget for it. Like as long as I stay under my budget, I'm good. And we're coming to you going, you pay us and we save you money. And that's hard. It's harder than we thought. They're like, we don't trust you yet. We don't trust that I'm actually going to save money. That's
probably what has to happen, right? It's going to take some time.
Yes.
We don't know what that is, whether it's months, years. Hopefully not. Hopefully shorter, obviously. But I guess once you get that reputation, it's like, all right, now you'll probably have a flood. It'll probably be where you're just incrementally getting new customers and that word of mouth.
Yep.
Then all of a sudden it's like, all right, now you're in it. Now everyone wants you.
Right.
And we really do believe that it's going to become standard at some point. Like once we are able to prove the savings and then we're able to kind of create those check boxes on the green energy side of things, because we're reducing the amount of haul-off trucks that are on the road going back and forth to landfills. There's some green energy benefits to using our service. And we're working really hard to try to find those things to prove it on paper and show it. And so when we do, we genuinely think it's going to be a standard practice that if you have roll-offs consistently on a regular basis, we're going to go hand in hand with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
From a landfill side of things, like when you think of a landfill, the commodity is space, basically. When you run out of space, you no longer have a landfill, you go open up a new landfill. So if we are compacting that trash as much as possible before it gets to your landfill, are we helping in that realm? Are we saving space, kind of?
Yeah.
So
I would think so, right?
The
environmental impact is a lot better, right?
Right.
With your service, in that you're compacting and preventing, or at least delaying, taking on more of the land to just create another landfill.
The one of the companies that we work with, their nearest landfill that they haul to, what is it? I think it was 40 something
46 miles away. Their landfill is 46 miles away.
In 90 days, we reduced 100 hauls. In our truck, so a dumpster haul, I don't know exactly the weight of a dumpster hauler, but they're to be a CDL licensed truck, it has to be above 26,000 pounds. Our truck's below 26,000 pounds, so we don't need a CDL to drive it.
Whoa, that's
so
cool.
then you start thinking our truck's going out instead of the hauler 100 times. Well, it reduces carbon emissions somewhere. And so The problem is we got to find somebody that will do the study for us.
Get the actual numbers, the data.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying it in theory. So that's another part of it.
Okay.
But it's been fun. It's been a lot of ups and downs, which obviously, I mean, you're a business owner, like you could probably speak to the ups and downs. We'll make 2 years in April.
Okay.
But it's a crazy roller coaster of like, literally this week was probably the worst week I think we've had.
Worst week in terms of like business or
crazy.
Just the stressors or problems,
the stressors,
the fires they got to put out.
Exactly.
Both trucks went down at the same time, which shouldn't happen, but it did at the exact same time.
Yeah.
So I mean, just a ton of different things. But next week might be the best week ever.
Right.
And it's just a lot of ups and downs, and it's just managing kind of those stresses and putting out fires and staying at a very calm, consistent demeanor and not following the ups and downs, I guess.
Yeah.
But it's been good. But yeah, going back to the social media space, we've enjoyed creating the videos, and we really intend on pushing that further because we are new to that space too. Like there are not all of our other competitors are really not really hitting on the Instagrams and the TikToks and the YouTube channels.
Yeah.
So I think we could be first to doing that. And 1.2 again, we have no idea what in the world happened, but
man, I'd be curious to figure out what.
If you have any ideas, let us know.
Yeah. I'll shoot it to our producer Nick, who he's been very instrumental to like our podcast in terms of the editing, distribution. He's incorporating AI into like how to increase, I guess, our reach. So he'll hear this, and at least he'll see. I don't know if he can figure out like what was the catalyst that,
and why 2 weeks later are we getting a crazy amount of followers? They're following from that reel.
Yeah.
And why 2 weeks later? Why not at the moment that we posted it? I don't know.
Sense.
It's just weird. We have no idea.
And that's the problem, I think, with like the social media. There's such an asymmetric information dynamic. Like we don't know what's going on behind the scenes of like a Facebook or an Instagram, even like Netflix. I've always heard about if you're in the movie business and you make a deal with Netflix, you don't really know how many views you're getting because Netflix keeps that secret.
Oh, really?
So how can you tell if you're a producer or trying to pitch a product to them?
Right.
How your performance is.
So
like,
they can't give you any idea.
I don't think so. That's what I've heard. I mean, I might be totally wrong, and if someone out there knows, comment, like correct me. But I just that puts like these tech companies in such a like they have the leverage,
right?
You know,
of course they have,
because they have the data,
right?
Which is why I personally have never really trusted in investing in some of these companies. Who's to say that Facebook doesn't fudge the numbers of views? Because they control the data.
Right.
That's exactly right.
Is there a third party individual like actually verifying that when they control the channels?
Right. And who's keeping that company alive?
So they can inflate their numbers and make it look like, oh yeah, we have so many people viewing us.
Yeah.
And they sell the spots to advertisers, and it's just weird. To me, the dynamics are very suspect.
It's the same thing with like cryptocurrencies. You know what I mean? It's just you don't know. There's not like real monetary like.
Well, I don't know about crypto. I don't know enough about crypto, but I think the beauty of it, the positive, is that it is like there's a public, the blockchain. You can independently verify transactions on this like digital ledger.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I didn't know that.
Yeah. You can't necessarily tell who owns what wallet or where it's going, but you can verify these transactions. Yeah. Yeah, I know a little. I'm not an expert by any means.
But what is it tied to? That's my question. So, like with Facebook,
you can ask that same. What do you mean? Like, what's the value, the inherent value of crypto?
So, like
and
I know the American dollar at first was the gold standard, right? And then it got tied to oil. With I think it was Nixon.
Oh, the petrodollar.
Yeah,
they're calling. Well, that question could be asked of any asset.
Good point.
Like, what makes gold intrinsically valuable? If you think about it.
Good point. Yeah.
You know,
scarcity or something. I don't know. I mean,
but why? Like, why is it so? Right. So what if it's scarce? Like, does it have any industrial applications, or it's just, I guess, forever certain groups and cultures have placed value? It is like rare. It's a rare element. Yeah. But like, why is it? Yeah. And I guess if you want to answer that question, is it only has value based on like the other guy accepting it as something valuable.
That's a good point. Yeah. That's a really good. I've never thought about that. Yeah.
But that you can ask that of any like currency, whether it be the US dollar or the yen. Gold, silver,
bourbon.
Somebody
said like, this bourbon is good, and next thing you know, everybody believes it, and will probably for the same cigar. I bet there are cigars that you were able to buy or find at any given moment, and next thing you know, it's on the.
It's scarce.
Yeah, it's on like a magazine or something as the top cigar in the world. And
we have the same thing happen. Yep, exactly.
Because someone said it's valuable, and other people don't have a clue, but they just know there's probably scarcity to it. It's valuable, so.
And sometimes the scarcity is artificial. You know, like these manufacturers, like in the diamond trade, right?
So
we all heard the stories of the diamond trade where they purposely withhold the supply.
Exactly.
Like, if you really look at it, and from a scientific standpoint, even natural diamonds, now they have like artificial diamonds that they make in the lab. But like, it's not really a rare asset or commodity. What I've heard someone in the jewelry industry tell me, I think the ruby is actually, either the ruby or the sapphire really should be more valuable because that's like rare. I forget which one it was. But yeah, some of it's artificial. Like what makes something more valuable than something else? I don't know. I mean, the dollar though used to be backed by gold. So our U.S. dollar used to be, and I know a little bit about this because I went to business school.
Good.
And I've always found like currency and banking very intriguing. I'm no expert, but like I know a little bit more about it, I guess, than the average guy. When Nixon got rid of the gold standard, the dollar became it wasn't backed by anything, right? It was just by the faith and trust of someone else, a merchant accepting that dollar. What they call a fiat currency, right? So it's a fiat currency is one that fiat means faith. Like we just trust that it has worth.
Yep.
But there are weird things that the Federal Reserve does where is it really like valuable?
Is it that valuable? Yeah.
Like if all of a sudden our society decides it's not valuable, it is not valuable. If everyone at once just decides it's worthless. That's why I personally was intrigued by cryptos when it came, like Bitcoin came out.
Right.
Because I understood like, okay, I get it's the same thing, right? It's kind of artificial. It was created, but it's bound by rules. There's only a finite amount, and people are using it in exchange, whether it's a true like commodity of value or store of value or currency is still up for debate. It's still like speculative. So I'm not telling anyone get into cryptos.
Yeah.
Because it is very risky and volatile, but
we'll come out with Sasquatch coin.
There you go. And there have been people who have created their own.
Well, did you see that Netflix documentary? The one that it came out like 4 or 5 weeks ago. Like I think it was like Crypto King or something. But it was these like 3 boys that were just decided to start their own crypto.
Wow.
And they blew it up, and they all went to jail for a very long time.
Wow.
Except for one of them. He told on everybody else, so he got out.
Oh, man.
And then he had his money in some other bank account. So then when he got out, he just had all this money. Insane. So I don't know. It just feel like in any space, it can be like what we're talking about with the YouTube can fudge their numbers. Facebook can fudge it. It's like there are legitimate, but then there's also the scammers, right?
Yeah.
We're seeing it like the Nigerian prince was the first one, right? With the emails where it was like, hey, I need you to help me. Yeah. And now it's like everybody's getting scammed. Everything's a scam. eBay, if you get on eBay now, you got to check every review. Etsy's the same way. There's just so many scammers. Wow. So it's I don't know.
That's why trust, like reputation of one's brand is so important.
Exactly.
And maybe that's what you're having to try to prove to these clients you're pitching to. It's like, I guess a lot of Americans too are just naturally like distrusting. Like you got to really prove.
Because you're sold to all day long.
Yeah, there's so many scammers. So like as a defense memechanism, like let me just not trust anyone.
Right.
Let me push you away, and when I have time to evaluate you and what you're saying, and then I'll come back to you. It's just like, it's
a little encouragement. I've heard a stat that says the average sales call is closed on the 7th visit. Where most people fail is that they give up after visit number 6.
Like 2 or 3. Oh,
yeah.
So the point is you just got to keep trying, keep going back, build that trust. And, if you are a trustworthy merchant or supplier, you show to that prospective buyer, like, okay, you can trust in me and at least give me a shot.
I agree.
Because we've had to go through the same thing. Like, people were very suspicious, or not suspicious, but like, you get the one guy coming in, it's a new shop, he doesn't know, hadn't heard of our reputation. He'll kind of maybe buy one cigar.
Is he going to sell me the cigar that has the most margins for him, or is he actually going to give me something that is good?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. Which is, I totally get it. Like, be suspicious.
Is he the car salesman of cigars, basically, kind of thing?
Yeah. Which is why, like, we have a different procedure, I guess, in that we don't compared to other industries, where we don't pay our guys, our sales floor, on commission.
Okay.
We'd rather give them a higher than average
right.
Base pay or hourly rate That way, we want the customer to get what they want.
So that
And
goes
we
a
don't
long
care.
way. Yeah.
We don't care if that customer buys a $2 cigar. We don't care if he buys, $1,000 worth of cigars.
Right.
Like our goal is to make the client feel like they're happy and they didn't get gypped or anything like that.
So other cigar shops will kind of be commission based.
I don't know. I don't think so. In our industry, I think it is more like that hourly
But you
rate
can
or
sense
salary.
that. I mean, how many
but there
places
could
have-
be shop. I don't know.
Okay.
I'm sure there are some that have a commission. I just don't know that. But I think historically, from what I've heard, it's not really commission based.
Yeah.
There might be maybe some bonus here or there, but
Do y'all have the tablet where it says the tip amount after you buy a cigar? Oh,
No.
I didn't know if maybe we
that's it. Yeah. What do you
Go
think
to
about
that
the tipping? The tipping culture.
Wears me out
Man, it
because
wears me out.
I tip. I feel like it's like, all right, man, this is $2. Like this guy may need it more than I do, but it's starting to wear me out.
Yeah.
So
I'm
getting-
on a fight now.
Yeah.
I do 0.
Yeah.
If now, service industry, restaurant, obviously you're tipping.
Yeah.
Like those people are serving you. Like it is you tip. But when somebody just
if you handed me
pours my
something from
coffee,
behind a
Right.
thing,
Exactly.
now obviously if I'm getting there like a
they're making
macchiato or a
something.
moat, like whatever, and they're having to they do the leaf in it or whatever, maybe I'll
if
tip
they make
something.
you a leaf,
But if
he'll
I get a
tip you.
pour
That's
over
what he said.
coffee and then they turn over and go, here you
and,
go.
and they give you like
They go,
judging.
oh,
face.
can you read the next few
They
prompts
start
for
looking
me?
up a little bit, like, just kind of hanging.
Here you go.
around.
This is yours. Yes.
Well, I think
What
I
do you
heard this.
choose?
Yeah, I heard this bit on NPR maybe last month about this topic about tipping.
Yeah,
And they brought
well,
on
it's
some-
becoming more. Yeah,
Yeah, they brought on like this. I don't know if it was a sociologist or a psychologist, and she said like you'd be surprised the majority. I don't know if it was like 80% of people just don't tip. Like so don't
in
feel
the state,
guilty.
in the U.S.
Don't feel like in those scenarios, like
Yeah.
where they turn
Okay,
around
yeah.
that the payment screen.
Right.
Like a lot of people just don't tip because
Yeah.
kind of what you're airing, and I agree with you on that. Like, what value are you really providing?
Right.
I get if if also in cult, historically the restaurant doesn't pay
Mm-hmm.
minimum wage because they can because
Right.
they rely on
Exactly
the
right.
tips.
Yeah.
That's one thing, but like, I don't know. Don't feel guilty if you choose
Right.
to make that stance.
Yeah. And it's unfortunate. It's not the person who's asking you to fill out the prompt that you get upset with, right? It's the person who owns that business has
'Cause
set that
they
up.
want the consumer to supplement
You're supplementing that employee.
the salary, yeah,
And that's
and not him. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yep.
Which goes to what you're saying with your business is you would rather pay your guys well.
Yep.
You retain them, which is
Yep.
a big problem in any of the workforce today. Just pay them what they're worth.
Yeah.
But that's every corporation you go to, right?
That's the number one complaint you've probably heard from other business owners, and I've heard from other
Mm-hmm.
business owners is attracting and retaining that talent.
It is. And what's the number one way to do it? Just pay them.
Yeah.
Show them their value. Don't just because I think we're in this culture where it's everybody's trying to cut off expenses, right? Like, what can we do to be as lean as possible? How can we run this and get the most profit and squeeze the lemon?
Yeah.
And it's like, maybe it's not worth squeezing the whole lemon. Like maybe you give your guys that are with you because we have a driver.
What's your employee or HR situation?
We've
like?
got-
I know you guys are small and starting out,
small,
Yeah.
but we've got HR is us, so we have
Yeah,
to
yeah,
talk
yeah.
to everybody when they say an inappropriate comment. We have to talk to ourselves. But
Yeah.
Ourselves.
so we have a driver. He's full time. We've got the guy who does our social media, and then social media, it's more marketing. And so
That's what I
again, in the
was- yeah.
beginning, everybody wears multiple hats.
Yeah.
So he does that. So he's part time, and then we have a part time driver as well. And then Josh and I, we're more of the day to days. So
Okay.
that's kind of the.
But I'm sure you have aspirations of growing it,
No, yeah, for sure.
hiring.
Picking up some salesmen and
That's
different
it.
things.
Yeah.
But that's a roadblock. You know what I mean? Because when
Oh,
you
yeah,
first
for sure.
start, he's been reading this book and he talks about dead zones, and the dead zones he's reading about are like multi-million dollars to get from 15 million to 100 million. We're not there, but I feel like there are dead zones in the very beginning where it's
for sure.
when do you know to hire that person? When, and now we're with the guy that we've hired who's in the office with us. It's okay. How do we get this guy the hours? Well, it's what is everything that you don't necessarily need to handle, and what can you handle that brings in the income, and what can he handle that helps maintain the income? And for us, like emails, just trying to follow up with call customers, help that helps. Our job is to go out and get new customers, right? Because that's we need to grow the business. So we have to look at ourselves as salespeople. So the way we have to look at our day to day is, okay, we're salespeople. So everything that's not sales that we have to deal with on a daily basis, let's give that to Noah and then let him handle it. And then hopefully if now Noah's overstressed, well, then it goes, okay, we need somebody to fill in this role.
Yeah.
Okay, then you can start growing. That's the part. Because, I mean, most of the time, if our driver goes out, he took off on Monday, which ended up starting off the good week that we've had. But we have that. Well, him and I are in the truck. So we're only one driver away from being in the truck. And we have, like, we have people in different areas. We've got New Orleans, Lafayette, Baton Rouge. So we're only one person away. So it's like, how do you create the barrier? Because ultimately the goal is to not have to think about the day-to-day. It's to think about the future of everything.
Like a client of mine told me years ago, there's a difference between working in your business versus working on your business.
Right.
And for like the founder of a company like you guys or the owner, like focus, if he chooses or she chooses to like expand and scale up, that you have to focus on that second part. Like we're working
On it.
not in it.
Yep.
But it's so easy to work
But
in it.
it's hard, like especially like you're starting out, like you are wearing many hats.
Yeah.
So what's your approach now? Because you've been in business, so you are in the old shop, I think, would you say, since 2015?
Oh yeah, in our Covington, actually our first store was in Covington.
Oh, I didn't know.
My
Okay.
father and I worked it,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
we were the only employees for several
So
years.
you understand that.
Yeah.
So you're
And we had
many
the same
more
discussion,
years
like at what
past-
point, like we want to hire, but like we're also afraid of we don't want to overstretch ourselves and
Exactly.
kill our bank account. Like
Right.
we want to be able to meet payroll, but do the sales justify that? It was
Every
very
dollar was very, very,
Yeah.
very important.
yeah.
At the
And we were different in that, okay, because we could work it, and it's I guess I don't want to say a more relaxed industry, but you're able to stay in this one physical location all day, like in
Yeah.
a shift, and then just work on the shop. What we did, anytime we made the profit, like there were years we didn't get paid, but we were able to like live off of our savings because the whole goal was like building our inventory. Like we started like, I think with 50 boxes of cigars, which for a cigar shop is like puny. Like
Minimal.
that's small
Yeah.
inventory. It only like wrapped around like this little room. This like, I think it was like 20 by maybe 20 by 10 feet walk-in humor, which is small comparatively, especially what you saw out here.
Right.
Exactly.
We only had like one row wrapped around of cigars, but we knew like, all right, because we had limited capital, let's reinvest the profits and grow that inventory because it's not really rocket science. A cigar store's revenue is directly correlated to your inventory, weirdly enough. Like the more inventory you have, you're going to attract more fish because they have more confidence that like, wait, these guys are really established.
that makes
Like,
sense. Yeah.
it's almost like putting on this facade, like, but really we go by the 80-20 rule. Like 80% of our revenue is from 20% of our SKUs. So I wish we could just have that little bit
Yeah.
of inventory and make still like that 80% of revenue. But that's what and I could totally be wrong, but it's worked for us so far.
Yeah.
Like reinvesting in inventory and having this like presence.
It's been a direct correlation to the sales.
But you just don't do that right away either. Like we also did it like step by step,
Yeah.
where we saw more customers coming in and trickling in, and
Right.
yeah.
So you're at the point. So you say you went to business school, like MBA? Got it?
No, just undergrad. Well, and I got a major in finance,
finance. Okay.
whereas they say finance.
Finance.
Yeah.
Mine was in marketing, so I did the same thing.
Okay.
I never once worked in marketing, except it's kind of all coming around a little bit
It
now.
can't hurt though. That's I would
But-
have loved to, gotten into marketing. Like any focus in business, like is still very relevant. Especially if you're a business owner.
So
I wish, huh?
Your day to day right now, is it more kind of working on the business, focusing on expansion, kind of?
Yeah,
Or
that's
is it-
that's kind of like where my father and I and brother have gotten to. Is like
Yeah.
we're still working the business a lot of days, right?
Right.
We're still lean, but we're trying to like extract ourselves from that
Yeah.
to where we can work on these initiatives like podcasting or other marketing endeavors, e-commerce, just trying to scale up and even open up more shops. But I think our barrier to entry is finding the talent. Because we don't want to, like, we could grow to more stores, but we just don't, like, especially in our industry, the cigar shop world, it's really like relevant, dependent on the kind of sales staff you have.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah, because a lot of these guys, start to create a rapport with our regular clients.
Right.
They even get like to know them over the years. We've seen now kids growing up who are of age now to buy cigars. So
that's got to be cool.
Yeah, it is cool.
Kid, you saw it first. Yeah.
Yeah, he was
cool.
like a little toddler. Now he's buying cigars. Like, it also shows my age, but like it's cool to see that. Like, and so to recreate that and scale that is really a challenge in our industry, I found, and which is why there's a reason you haven't really seen like a publicly held company like a Starbucks of cigar shops.
Yeah,
right.
So it's really so hard, I think, to scale that. It's being tried, but like it's still like a challenge for some of these companies.
Are there any major, like, I'm just thinking about it, are there any major like publicly traded car dealerships?
You could say CarMax, right? CarMax is a publicly traded company.
Point.
Yeah,
Okay.
and they've really disrupted the dealership industry.
I wonder if that would be a good idea for cigars. Like if it was like a click.
I've thought about that because
Okay.
I've dreamt about like, man, I would love to see a publicly held company, like especially in our space, but I don't know. It's just, I think you got to find the right talent. I mean, people have tried the franchise concept. There used to be this very relevant
deliver
company
to your door kind of companies out there,
or
right?
you just like sell this concept to someone else and have him run it. You know, like a McDonald's franchise,
right? Well, it'd help you on inventory, huh? Dude, would you get a bulk discount if you were buying?
Yeah, that would be the value add, like
Yeah.
the proposition to like a prospective franchisees. Look, we have the buying power.
Right.
We'll get you the same price as you would getting it from the manufacturer, or even below. Like that's especially offered to them below factory cost. But Tinderbox was a very well known franchise concept. They were, I guess, their height was in the 80s and 90s, and then just kind of. Because their model was establishing in malls when malls were a lot more, I guess, valuable.
Yeah.
Now that's kind of died down, and it's kind of gone back to like the independent,
the niche kind
manufacturer.
of specialty shops, right?
Exactly. Which I mean has allowed us to enter a space where, you know, fortunately the Amazons of the world are so anti-tobacco. That's where it helps us.
Yeah.
Where you don't like this vice? Well, we'll make money on it. You know.
Right.
I mean, God
It helps
forbid
you, right.
if
they start getting into the space.
Yeah,
and
which
just, right.
but we have techniques that or little strategies that even can protect us if, let's say, Amazon decides to get in.
Yeah.
You know?
Which would be that would be interesting. But
did something drop?
the headphones.
Headphones.
Oh, it did. Okay, no worries.
What like I'm thinking about, because if Amazon really gets into it, right? Like, then you can have them delivered to your door.
Mm-hmm.
What are the legalities on that? As far
That's weird. Like to me, that's weird.
Because
only
a
because
16-year-old
it's
could
legal.
go in and
Well, yeah, and there's really no like regulation on that.
interesting.
So what's to stop a 16-year-old who somehow got a credit card?
Right.
And I don't know like what legal age people can get a credit card at.
We'll just say they steal their parents' credit card.
Or they steal it, right?
Or they have it, their
stays
parents'
right.
credit card, and they just
it's
go,
on
"Oh, this is
file.
my
Yeah.
house." It's the same thing with like DoorDash does alcohol delivery. You
they
can-
do?
Yeah, you can go.
I didn't know they did
maybe
that, no.
DoorDash, it could be Uber, whatever. But they talk like you can
or
get
Drizzly or something. Is another-
Drizzly.
yeah,
That's it. Yeah. So it's the same concept. Well, what if these kids just have their parents' credit card and it's at their residence?
But I'm sure like they had to.
Sure, you have to type in a driver's license number or
Maybe
something.
verify. Like the driver has to verify that the license.
Good point.
There are ways to like control that and regulate it, but in our industry there isn't.
Yeah.
Which was weird. Like when like the internet sales really e-commerce started coming up, the government made it, and I guess it was even before e-commerce. Like it was always illegal to ship cigarettes. Like a customer could never buy cigarettes over the internet or even by catalog. They always had to go to a brick and mortar because local jurisdictions and state jurisdictions made it to where that was the law. But cigars never got wrangled into that.
Yeah.
So it was always kind of the Wild West. What we've done was to even install like higher threshold requirements. Like if someone like goes to this site and they're new, we require them like your first order, you're gonna have to submit a photo ID, and you got to submit a picture of your ID
interesting.
with your face.
Yeah.
Even though we don't have to, but it's
Just that step.
it's just a further step to protect ourselves.
That's a good point.
Yeah. And if you don't want it, that's fine. I mean, there are other shops that, and they do, like, they'll just sell to whoever if it just clears. But I just feel that that's a risk down the road.
Yeah.
that they could face. And this is like one of those topics that the industry I don't think likes to talk about.
Yeah.
But I don't care because we're transparent. We're going to do everything legal.
Right.
We're still allowed to ship cigars via the mail, and you still have catalogs. But we're going to take extra steps to make sure we're really protecting ourselves, and we're not selling to minors and not being a bad actor.
One of and again, if I'm asking too many questions,
No, I
about
love
your
it. I love
company,
like
I always
educating people.
I'm thinking about it. So like,
and it could apply to your business somehow. Maybe there's a technique that you can take that lesson from and maybe help you guys.
well, it's
out.
this whole concept of frictionless sales. It's it's this. People don't want to see people anymore. Like they don't want to go to the car dealership anymore. That's why CarMax and Carvana, these places do well because you offer online and then they accept your bid online. Then your car's delivered to your door. You never have to worry about seeing somebody face to face, which is sad that it's gotten to that point because you kind of have lost the salespeople. You know what I'm talking about?
The interaction, the face.
Yeah, like when you meet an older guy who's been in sales his entire life and you just talk with them and they just know everything about their industry, like a car dealer, like they know everything about their types of cars that they're selling. Yeah. So any questions you have. But what is it like? Because I think about it when I go to a golf course. Like they should have cigars there for sale, right?
And some do.
Some do, but is that something where you could partner with a golf course and it's like maybe, hey, you don't have to buy it. I'll supply it.
Right.
And even I'll give you a low percentage of this sale and maybe you mark up the cigar because it's there on site, the convenience fee. But then it's like, and I know the municipal golf courses are different. So like Webb, LSU, Copper Mill. Copper Mill is more private. But to have a cigar there where they're not going to supply it, but if you plug into them and supply it, I know for me, I would buy one every round because I feel like I'm always like, I got to go get a cigar, but I don't have time because I'm already late to my tee time. So it's like, I don't have time to go stop by.
Right.
So I'm just going to go to the golf course.
Yeah,
and
you're
then
going
it's
there
just without a
anyway,
cigar.
so you can just get it.
And then you just have it. And then it's just you partner because and we talked about this at the patio party. It's like, that your demographic, your demographic tends to be businessmen. Okay, well, what else do businessmen do? They're golfers. Okay, what else? Whatever.
Bourbon drinkers.
Bourbon drinkers. Exactly right. So it's just, I don't know.
So that's basically engaging in the wholesale activity is how I would view it, right? Okay. And we've done that, and we have
that's
service
a strategy, I guess. You gotta choose to be a part of.
And that is like a long-term initiative of ours. It's just kind of going back to like we're so constrained right now.
Yeah.
Trying to deal in the local, like what we're doing now, the brick and mortar on site.
Yeah.
It's on the list.
It is on the list. But we are currently doing that. Like we are selling and servicing some accounts like Calandro's Market. The cigars you find there, they're supplied by us.
Really?
And we service them, yeah. We hooked up with Taylor maybe in the fall. And he was buying it from someone else. He wasn't happy with the service. And he came actually here. So a lot of it is because some of these like other businesses or other resellers come to us. And we're happy to now take the time to educate them and plead our case, And
do you feel like it's growing?
Yeah, a little bit. It's interesting in the supermarket segment. It used to be that you never really saw so many cigars, like premium cigars, offered in a supermarket. But I think it's changed like in the last 15 years.
Right.
Especially like more specialty supermarkets that have come online. Now they're starting to offer that. I guess these other supermarkets are trying to keep up with the Joneses and offer, premium cigars. But that's such a weird thing too, because you don't necessarily have staff that's educated in cigars.
Right.
So I don't think the sales are always like real, like the potential's never fully realized,
I get it. Yeah.
So that's kind of like something we have to figure out because we obviously want to see them turn over more because that'll help us out. Like our incentives are aligned. But I think that just take more staffing and more procedures to kind of execute on that. And we would just rather focus on our in-store and e-commerce.
Yeah.
Direct to consumer. Although, I mean, if there is someone listening who maybe is part of a golf course or a hotel, but like I used to work for a large C-store wholesaler and I used to call on some of these businesses.
Yeah.
But that was back before when in Louisiana, you could smoke a little bit more freely.
Yeah.
In bars, in restaurants that allowed it. Hotels that allowed or casinos. And it wasn't until 2007 when the state came down and put these like little more draconian laws on smoking.
Yeah.
Where that business kind of like started dipping. Unfortunate, but yeah, I used to call on like what's a there's a restaurant in the French Quarter, Arnaud's.
Yeah.
They used to have a cigar bar,
Oh, okay.
and we used to sell to them.
Really?
Mm-hmm. And that was cool just to visit them, and I would make the delivery and just talk to the client and whoever was there and help stock. But that stopped in like 2007 because of that law.
It would only be like for a golf course. It'd be like your Raising Cane's model, right? Like you have one or two types, 3 types of cigars that are like your bread and butters. People who are going to golf, they may not be cigar connoisseurs, but they just want a cigar. So it's like 1 to 3 different types of cigars that are there. It's easy to manage. They're going to buy it. Just like the grocery store clientele, right? Because if your clientele is knowledgeable, they're coming in here.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what we're trying to like bank on and educating.
You want them to come
our
here,
customers
right?
to come here. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I get it.
But I also like, to your point, if there's a situation where you just didn't have time to come here,
right?
If you go to the golf course, you can get a cigar there, and it really all depends on who the buyer or who the management is at any of these businesses.
Yeah.
Some of them don't even think about cigars. It's not even on their radar. And when you try to make that pitch, kind of like in you guys' example, like try to convince that buyer, like, hey, there could be value here.
Yeah, I agree with you.
But a lot of them that come to us, they know cigars and they already understand the value. It's easy to make that sale.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So besides like social media or I guess calling on these consumers, how are you guys trying to get the word spread out or get in front of people?
I mean, honestly, the past 2 years, we've been door knocking, really kind of getting in front of them. This year, kind of our initiative is just basically using alternative means of marketing and advertising. We have actually have a advertising budget this year, marketing budget. So we're going to be, we're working with Studio E, local Malera Enterprises. They have a marketing company. Studio E. So we're using them a little bit, but honestly, that's kind of it. Word of mouth has obviously been growing, which has been great. I mean, more and more people are starting to recognize who we are. The biggest thing that we get from people is like, man, I've seen your truck all over the place. Like I've seen it everywhere, but like, what in the world do you do? And so we have to figure out ways to answer that question for the general public. But I don't know, man. If you got any other ideas, we'll take whatever
we're so
advice that anybody has as to how to really market this.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's got to all be fairly similar. Like you want people who have no idea that Habana Port exists to know that it exists.
So there are a lot of people who don't even know who we are.
So how do you do that?
Right.
How do we get people to know that we exist? How do you just get somebody to know that it exists so that when that thought comes or that need comes,
we're front of mind.
they're front of mind without spending thousands and thousands of dollars just blowing, billboards up there or whatever. Because you don't really want to do that. At least we can't.
Well, a lot of us can't afford that.
Exactly.
I mean, we all know like of the certain lawyers in town that you see them all over. But I guess with their business model, they can do that.
Right.
And that's the whole purpose, is they just want to be front of mind. But we can't afford to spend that money to continuously be front of mind. So, like, in what ways can we do that in other alternative ways? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, we can think about that over a cigar.
That's exactly right. It is. It's a tough, but we've realized, because like you're saying, when somebody comes in, especially here, like when we came in, automatically we felt welcomed. Like automatically you were there to go, hey, like, how are you? Some people, it's like the same old gym that I go to. Like all these F45, or sorry, I shouldn't say the name of the gyms, but
call them out.
Like the group rate deals where it's like, oh, we'll pay $200 a month, whatever. I paid $19.99 for my gym membership, and it's because the guy at the front desk goes, hey, Peyton, good morning. Like,
that goes a long way, huh?
Yeah, it goes a long way. Yeah. So for us, when we're able to go into a business and sell, it's first off, I need 5 minutes of your time because we're a new concept. So, like, I can't just go in, hey, I'm with a roofing company. I do roofs. Oh, we're not interested. See you later. It's like, I'm trash compaction. Get out of here.
Yeah, what?
Like, exactly. Yeah. So it's being able to get somebody to be face-to-face, experience what we do and who we are. Then we create a customer. So for us, like, you can do an email campaign, but if we put a picture of our truck, it's the same thing as them driving by it on Perkins. Well, what does it do? It's hard to capture the intent. First off, you have to be able to portray the message within the attention span of the person who's looking at it.
Yeah.
And how do you do that? I feel like it's
all
so
just
hard.
Trust, man. It's all trust. People have to trust you. They got to trust you and what you're telling them with cigars. They have to trust us.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about earlier, you can manufacture just false confidence. You can manufacture what people think is we're being sold to all the time. Everything's being sold to. So how do we be real at all times so that people can trust you and just genuinely think that what you have is useful?
Something of value, yeah. Well, hopefully doing these kind of things, and thank you all for coming in. Like, that means a lot to us, but hopefully there could be a little positive, at least getting the word out.
Yeah.
It's just doing these like little step by step increment.
Steps. Yeah. Just enjoying the process as we go. That's one thing we got to learn how to do is just enjoy this ride. Kind of the ups and downs. Just take it for what it is and enjoy the process. And
it's so hard to do that, though. I'm sure you can relate to that because you're so busy trying to build it to what you want it to be.
Yeah, you want to stay afloat. You don't want to close up shop.
Yep.
It sounds like you guys have people that are dependent on you now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that keeps us up at night sometimes, but like you said, just trust the process and just. Yeah, that's why I love a cigar at night. That's for me the best time to smoke a cigar is like on my porch outside if the weather's great.
You can think through kind of.
I can meditate. Yeah, think about business strategies or just or at least just decompress, not even think about anything.
Yeah.
Just kind of get recalibrated there. Yeah. And that's why we have so many business professionals. Like you've seen when you walk through our lounge here, you saw all the business professionals here.
It's a place they can go.
Yeah,
that's
just
intentional
relax.
to just settle in.
Yep. Yeah, and even be productive, even though it might not. Like a lot of wives maybe, or people who don't smoke, they'll like look at them and be like, man, they're lazy. They're just smoking. Like, what are
they're
you
just
doing?
trying to not come home.
But like, I've seen so many business deals close over the decades, like of like-minded individuals coming together, even if not in the same industry, like just networking, getting ideas, meeting someone that will introduce them to the next decision maker. You just never know.
Right.
And it's cool to see that. And I wish like more anti-tobacco people could understand that, you know, so. But
we appreciate
what do
you.
Yeah, no, anytime. And
awesome.
We'd love to have you on again. But going back to this cigar, what do y'all think of it so far? And be honest, like, you like it? What are your thoughts?
It's perfect for me. It's
it's got
pretty light. I feel good with it. I mean, I think it's
pretty clean. It's not like harsh or anything. Yeah,
no, my tongue doesn't burn on this one.
Okay,
I experience that a lot. Like tongue burn, especially if I get like a.
Maybe something fuller bodied or just
I just feel hurt. Like my mouth feels dry. My mouth doesn't feel. Which I obviously have 3 drinks next to me. But
here's a tip: if you ever, and I may have already told you this, if you ever feel woozy, I think I did tell you this. You feel woozy, like pop some dark chocolate. Some people have said like maybe some sugar. That'll help neutralize any of like the overdosing, of nicotine. Yeah.
Okay.
No,
I haven't heard that. Yeah.
That's why I also like to, I don't know if there's any truth to it, but like smoking after a meal will help too. If you're smoking on an empty stomach, the nicotine, especially if it's a little bit more than what you're used to, can really kind of make you woozy or nauseous. So
that does make sense.
But yeah, Espinosa is an awesome factory. They're based out of Nicaragua. The crema is like their, I wouldn't say mild strength necessarily. It's their light shade wrapper that almost has like a lot more flavor than your grandpa's, shade grown cigar, which back then used to be just like smoking like air. Like it was so mild you didn't get any flavor.
Yeah.
But that's what they liked, the market liked back then. Now this new age Connecticut, still kind of mild strength, but there is like a little bit more body, more complexity to it. So yeah, the Espinosa Crema, not a bad cigar from Nicaragua. But yeah, is there anything else that you guys want to impart? Oh, let me ask you about bourbon. You said you guys were, I'm not like a real expert on bourbon. We had Sugarfield Spirits on.
Okay.
Kind of talking about their operation. I'm always intrigued by that industry because it is very close, at least in mindset to like the cigar. Yeah. What are some of your favorite bourbons or go-to? Like if I'm new or don't understand bourbon, like what's some advice for me?
So the only advice that I really have is from my father-in-law. Like most people who claim to be bourbon aficionados, like, are they really? I don't know, but he really is. I mean, you go in his cabinet and it's unreal how much stuff he has. And he's a collector, but he's also a
consumer, huh?
He's past the point of like collection just for the fun of it. So now he genuinely, like if anybody comes over, he'll buy a bottle that could be considered extremely rare, and he'll share it with just anybody that comes in that shows any sort of interest. So he's to that point now where he appreciates and he's trying to pass down kind of the fun of it, the culture of it. But I really like Weller. Weller's probably one of my favorite, and just a special reserve, which again is another bottle that's probably, if you can find it, I don't know, $28, something like that.
Oh, okay.
But a Weller special reserve, they have Eagle Rare is one that is incredibly hard to find all of a sudden. But I mean,
it never used to be rare because I remember
you could
seeing
find
that
it
on the
anywhere.
shelf, yeah.
It used to be $25 or something like that.
Oh wow, it's gotten to that status.
It's gotten to the point. I think I might be wrong, but I think it won like Bourbon of the Year, maybe 2022 or something like that. And since then, you can't find it anywhere.
Yeah.
But it tastes really. I mean, I like it. I genuinely like it. But now it's become the hot topic, and everybody wants it, and it's hard to find. But
so, what about a bourbon that you could find no problem right now? What do you like? What do you like?
I really like the Four Roses single barrel.
Okay.
I just
I
can't. I'm not there to give you all the profiles of everything.
Yeah.
That's probably more my father-in-law. But
you know that you like
I know.
it.
So I'm
You
to
like
the point
it.
now because he lets me taste anything and everything. I'm to the point now where like I know when I'm drinking something like it's a really good bourbon. Like I can tell you if you put a bunch of random testings, like I can tell you which one's better than others and for what reasons. But like I can't give you the flavor profiles at all.
You
but
just
for
know
whatever reason, the Four
you like it,
Roses single barrel, I really like that one. There is a what's the one? It's a barrel proof. I'm drawing a blank on the name. I'd have to find it. There's a bunch of them in my cabinet that my father-in-law has given me. Oh my gosh, what is it? I'll come back to it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
How about you, Peyton? Are you a bourbon guy? Or
I'm
no?
not. I
No,
I drink Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, there you go.
I do and ask for it at every bar I go to. It's what I like.
That's what you like, yeah.
But no, as far as whiskeys, if I go over, I think we actually had a story where you poured a really nice whiskey.
I gave him an Elmer Tea, which is a really, really good one. Again, father-in-law gave it to me, and I let him try it, and he just said, "This is good," and just downed it, just a shot of it. I was like, dude, you're not supposed to do that. Like,
So savor it.
Just a little bit on the
deal.
bottom of the glass. The only thing I knew was to take it,
shoot it.
So, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
So no, I mean it's. I don't really drink all too much, but
Yeah.
if it is, I'll drink beer or just like a
I
tequila.
typically like if anybody comes over, I just have Buffalo Trace, and I'll just kind of hand them that.
That's a good one.
And
Okay.
it's $23, $24, and you can find those a little bit easier. But again, those are probably it's getting to the point now where it's like harder and harder to find. Just because I think Joe Rogan's starting to sponsor Buffalo Trace, I think it's just gaining popularity for those reasons.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'll pretty much give that to people, and then if certain friends are like really into it, then I have a small little collection that I'll hand over to them.
And bourbon's like one of the top drinks that cigar smokers will look when pairing a cigar with a liquor. Try port. Next time you're in the wine shop or liquor store, see if they have a port. Port is a fortified wine. That to me is like the most classic alcohol pairing with a cigar. Very old world, very like European, especially English. Port, for some reason, to me, the sweetness of that port, of that drink, somehow like is a great collaboration with the, I guess like the earthy, natural characteristic of a cigar.
Okay.
And like after dinner, maybe in the evening, just have a little snifter of port.
I've never had port wine.
Yeah,
I've heard of
Trader Joe's has one that's like I think $8.
Okay.
And it's fantastic for a bottle.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you remember what it's called?
It's I think it's very plain.
Okay.
It's like a dark bottle with
there can't
like
be a
white.
huge section of
No,
port wine, I'm
they
assuming.
only have they have a ruby and a tawny. Ruby's gonna be your sweeter. Tawny's gonna be like I don't know how to describe it. Like it's like velvety. Like I like a tawny. Like I don't like the rubies because they're a little almost too fruity for me. But the tawnies are I don't know like
sweet
like
spot for you.
Yeah, I don't know how to describe it. It's almost like a dark fruit though, like a dried fruit, but not as like bright fruity as like the rubies. But I'll drink a ruby too. But like look for that. They have a tawny and a ruby there at Trader Joe's. Try that. Pair it with a cigar. What I would do is like sip a little bit of the port and then smoke, and it's just something about that marriage. And you might not like it, but that's like one of these old pairings that I think people have forgotten about.
Okay.
And it's nice to kind of reintroduce to the next generation of smokers, like some of the classics.
I've got one more question for you.
Yeah.
So when we leave here, I want to pick up a few cigars, but so I'm going out of the country all next week.
Okay.
How long can I have a cigar without a humidor?
Okay.
Be at the house and it's still quality.
Good question. Yeah. So in terms of storage, as long as cigars are in the right conditions, there's no expiration date.
Okay.
So real simply, let's say you have a few. We have bags you can put the cigars in. It's like a Ziploc bag. But before you zip it up, there's a product we have called Bovida,
Okay.
which is like these little packs. If you've ever seen in food products, certain jars maybe have like these little desiccant products, like these little pillows.
Mm-hmm.
What they do is absorb the moisture. The Bovida packs act the opposite and release moisture to create the conditions. Cigars are good anywhere between 65 and 75% humidity.
Okay.
So as long as they're in those conditions at room temperature, it's good.
So basically, if I buy some now, I can come back later after 2 weeks from now when I get back.
Yeah, it'll be good.
Be fine.
Okay. Yeah, and Bovida makes different like weights. They have an 8-gram pack, a 60-gram pack, and a 320-gram pack. The 8-gram would be good for like a little small bag of like 5 cigars.
Okay.
The 60-gram pack will be good up to every 25 cigars. And we have a big Ziploc bag. You can put about 20, 25 cigars depending on the size.
Okay.
And throw in a pack, keep it sealed, and that's like your humidor. You don't need to invest in, big bucks on a furniture piece, that the desktop humidors. Heck, even like buying some Tupperware with like a good seal and throwing a few of those 60-gram packs, that could be a humidor.
Yeah.
A good, inexpensive,
I never knew that existed.
Short-term,
awesome.
solution. So you don't need to like invest so much. But when you get like to that next level of like connoisseurship or appreciation, then you can maybe consider a humidor, but it's not really necessary either.
Okay.
It's all up to you, and we'll show you. But yeah, if you're traveling out the country, where are you going?
We're going to Switzerland.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to go some snowboarding in Switzerland. Yeah.
Where are you going to go to Geneva?
We're going to
point?
Zermatt.
Okay.
Geneva? No, I don't.
You don't plan on going to Geneva? I asked because Davidoff, they're based out of Switzerland.
That would be cool.
Switzerland and the Swiss are they're synonymous with appreciation for cigars.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna send you one if I can find a good one. I'm wherever we go, because we're going to a few different restaurants, and if I can find some, I might send you a picture and give you
absolutely. I love that.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. And you're gonna go snowboarding there? Cool. Yep. Okay.
It's been a week, so a little nervous. Considering we just started a business and everything else, I'm a little stressed out about it. Everybody's asking me like, "You're excited?" I'm like, "I'm actually pretty anxious about it."
What are your thoughts on that? Like,
It's
all work, no play. Like, what do you
look? So when my dad and I finally left the previous company we worked for, started our own business, I think it was like 6 years before I took a vacation.
Really?
And if I can give any advice to like any startup, don't do that. Like, at least you need to take time. You need that time to decompress. We just couldn't do it because of like just money situation and also being hungry. Like, we came into markets that were already established, and that's very tough. Like,
right.
we were the hungry kids on the block.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I wish I would have taken time off. And ever since that first vacation, I went to Spain in 2016.
Cool.
And ever since then, I was like, I got to take vacation every year. Like, it's just too much. Like, you gotta balance that.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're gonna go crazy, and mentally, like health wise, like it's not good.
I agree.
So if you can afford
start
it,
getting a little snappy, it's time to maybe go. I'm probably there.
Yeah.
You are.
Yep. And it's good. Like, you can reset. And it sounds like you're doing something that you probably like. I don't know how much snowboarding you've done, but
a decent amount. I'm decent amount, but it's been a while since I've gone.
But you're doing something that's like not work related.
This is the first week-long vacation I will take since, I don't know, maybe high school when I went with my family. So I mean, this will be the longest one.
How long are you going?
Sure. From we're leaving Saturday night, coming back Saturday. Yeah, so truly 7 days. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Well, yeah, we'll be glad to have you guys on in the future.
Dude,
follow up with
this is awesome.
Just talk. I mean, I was hoping to talk more about your business.
No, man.
But I'm glad to
we like hearing from you. Like, one thing we always say is like we want to talk to other business people and like gather as much as we can. I mean, 2 years into this thing, like we don't pretend to know everything. We want to learn from everybody else, and we genuinely have an interest in cigars. And
this could be a gateway of opening doors in the business world too.
Agreed.
Especially if you found like a buyer or the decision maker. If
Let's
they happen
find
to be
out
a
somebody's
cigar
interested.
guy,
We're like, yes.
Like,
we're
maybe
taking
always have a cigar with you. That's a great diplomatic tool.
Yeah.
To like open doors, and it's
we were talking. So golf has become that. Like when
golf is like that. Yeah.
And we find out somebody's interested in golf, we immediately have that kind of connection. So we were saying right before you got in here, like, what if we start kind of bringing up cigars and seeing if we can find some attraction, some common ground there.
So many business deals have been closed on the golf course over a cigar. Like, it's not just a snooty thing. Like, for business people or small business owners, it really could be a great networking tool.
Right.
Okay.
Then when you get somebody in their hobby, then you start actually getting to know them. Like when they're in something that they like,
open up.
Or if they're into duck hunting or whatever it is, like whatever interest, like that's a great connection to have for
Agreed. So I could see somewhere right here, because when you have a cigar, it's kind of like when you go out for a drink with somebody.
That's right.
You kind of start to know who they are a little
Exactly.
bit. They can't BS the whole thing. So
You can't fake it.
yeah, you can't
for
fake
too
it.
long.
The
Yeah,
whole
and
time.
sometimes that liquid truth, comes.
Yeah.
Well, this does the same effect. Like you said, it's a calming thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I agree.
So before we go, we have a final segment. If you guys would indulge,
Absolutely.
it's a rapid fire round of questions.
Ooh.
Inspired by Patty G, actually.
Nice. Okay.
You said you
So,
were gonna
yeah.
jump off a roof.
Number 1, Tabasco, Crystal, or other.
Crystal.
Other.
Okay. Number 2, favorite vacation destination.
Man. Well, I'll let you know when I come back from
Yeah,
Switzerland
yeah.
if that's it.
I like Orange Beach.
Okay.
Dude, I'm with them. I love
Orange Beach, Floribama.
Okay.
Floribama, Orange Beach.
Yeah.
There's just something to just, I don't know.
Beach is nice.
Oh, man, I forgot about that one. That's
Yeah.
a good one.
That's a good one.
Number 3, who would you want to smoke a cigar with, dead or alive or deceased? Alive or deceased. It could be a celebrity, or it could be a family member or a friend or whoever. If you could smoke a cigar with anyone in the world, who would it be?
You go first, Peyton. Who would be super interesting?
I think it'd be really fun to hear from Napoleon.
Oh, wow.
That'd be fun.
Nice.
Just to hear,
I
just to
think
see
that's
what
the
that's
first,
like.
the first
Not
Napoleon
that I
episode.
know a lot about history, but
Did
somebody
you see the
who-
movie?
No, I didn't. I
really
heard it
good.
was really good,
It was
though.
good.
I heard it was really good.
I know there's controversy with it, with like, oh, did he take liberties to? But that director, Ridley Scott, I'm just a fan of anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought it was brilliant. Yeah,
Just to hear somebody from like the early day, like that would be, you get a lot of insight. Winston Churchill would be another cool one. But
Yeah,
Old Winston, because he's synonymous with cigars.
yeah.
Man. Bob Marley.
Okay,
Yeah.
yeah, very cool.
Smoking something different.
Yeah, he's smoking something.
And he probably appreciates cigars,
Oh, I didn't even ask you about this.
Uh-huh.
The Cuban thing.
Okay.
Why is that such a popular cigar? What is it?
Well, that's a whole.
Okay,
like,
okay.
No,
Never mind.
no.
Keep finishing your-
Real quick. It was the epicenter of cigar production forever.
Right.
From like I think the 17 or 1800s, all the way up to the Revolution. They were just the mecca of cigar production, tobacco growing and cigar production. The revolution occurs when Castro comes in and nationalizes all these businesses and kicks out these families.
Right.
So the reputation still stuck with the island, but what people forget is that the knowledge left. The brain drain was real. And they went to other countries like Nicaragua or Honduras or Dominican Republic.
Really?
The Canary Islands were actually one major first stop. People don't realize that. And so, like, are Cubans still like what they once were?
Interesting.
Like real insiders, we would argue that. But you have people thinking that, oh, I've heard about Cubans, and I want to be projected as or project that I'm authority on cigars. I only smoke Cubans, which there are some people that really legitimately and genuinely love Cubans, and won't smoke anything else. But we say Cubans are still making the best cigars in the world. They're just not in Cuba.
Interesting.
Because they
Okay.
right because of the
Because they're resting on
brain
their
drain.
laurels, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like Notre Dame football. Like, and I can say this because I attended Notre
Okay.
Dame.
Really?
We were a powerhouse.
Yeah.
We have a great program, but like we've been kind of resting on our laurels. Like they haven't really produced,
We got to join a
that much.
conference at some point, right?
Yeah, I don't know. I know.
Just kidding.
That's a whole other
I know,
topic too.
I
Yeah,
know.
which I would love to have. But
I know.
yeah.
I know.
So to answer the Cuban,
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
Okay.
I would say like you're traveling abroad, you can try Cubans when you're abroad.
Okay.
So and I'll give you some tips on where to look for them and which ones to like seek. So, all right. The question was that's all good. No, I love that. Who do you want to smoke with? Oh, okay, number 4. Maybe this isn't relevant, but like, what's your desert island cigar? If you can only smoke one cigar, I know you guys are still new. But if you can only choose like one brand, one stick, what would be the only cigar left you could smoke for the rest of your life?
Espinosa.
Nice. Yep. Nice. So we'll maybe get that.
We'll come
the
back
answer,
to that maybe next
in
time.
some time.
Once we're a little more cultured. into it,
Yeah, I
we'll
need to
come
be a
back.
little more cultured.
And number 5, who would you want to see here on a future podcast? could be anyone.
Adam Berry
Oh,
with
yeah,
Bear
dude, Adam
Process
Berry.
Safety. You would love him. Big
Okay.
energy.
Local business owner.
Okay.
He's doing really well. Big culture guy.
Is he a
big into
cigar
the
smoker?
community. I don't know.
He's a golfer.
Okay.
He's got to be.
He gotta be.
I mean, he's a
Personality.
big personality. You
Okay.
would really enjoy having him on.
Very cool.
Yeah, and he called me while we were in here, so
okay.
it'd be a front of mind. But he's,
Ask him. Ask him
I
if he
absolutely
smokes
will.
cigars. Yeah.
He'll come on regardless. He'll smoke a cigar just to feel.
Well, not
welcome.
even just to like pitch him and come in here, but like ask him if he smokes cigars, if he knows anything about it. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, we appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
We hope to see you again. You're always welcome. So
We're excited.
This was great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Thanks
was
again.
really cool. This was fun.
awesome. All right, guys, take care.